willing volunteers, and we want to allow them to continue serving us in the community. That being said, I'd call Chief Briggs up here. Chief, would you like to say a few words?
I would. I'm not coming up here alone. Thanks, Michael. As Michael said, the auxiliary unit has just, the men and women that stand before you have given so much of themselves because of their love for this community. There's no other reason for someone to give up their nights, their weekends, their holidays, especially when they aren't even being paid. Many of our full-time officers began their law enforcement career with our auxiliary unit, and we have many police officers in neighboring communities who started out in our auxiliary unit as well. And so tonight really is bittersweet as we gather here to recognize these men and women. I stand before them and you to commend them for all the work that they've done and for their commitment and dedication to the Ashland community. They are an amazing example of selfless service. So I'm going to stand so I can face them. But on behalf of the entire Ashland Police Department, I would like to thank you. You're not only our colleagues, but you're our friends and part of our family. This loss will be felt by the entire department and community, and we'll certainly have a large void that's going to be left unfillable. Please know that you always have a home at the APD, and we do expect to see you quite often. And so from the bottom of my heart and the members here, thank you for your service, your friendship, and the memories. Job well done. So thank you.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Chief. Just I'll be a little bit more, I think, effusive in my praise than I was earlier today. We can't do. You can't have an event here in town without seeing one of our auxiliary officers, and a lot of times they don't. Well, they don't have to be there, period, but they do it, as Rich said, for the love of the community. And I can say for certain, we would not be able to do the things that we do as a town and move these projects forward that we have been moving forward without the help of the auxiliary departments. It's going to leave a big hole to fill. This is really, I think, a very small token in terms of giving back vis-a-vis what they've given to us as a town. But Sergeant Smith?
Just brief. Wanted to thank Chief Briggs, the entire police staff, for allowing us to work alongside them and the opportunity to serve our town. And most importantly, I want to thank the auxiliary men and women that I serve with. They've been nothing but a great honor to work with and privilege to work with all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you. I'm going to open it up to our board if anyone has any comments. I know, sure. Steve, go ahead.
Good. I just wanted to comment, certainly as a select board member, but also as a member of the Ashland Farmers Market Board of Directors, and how integral the auxiliary police has been to our success, our community success. So I just wanted to extend our appreciation for, we're in our 11th season and you've been with us from day one. So thank you very much. And I just want to encourage our police leadership to work on finding a solution to what I think we all feel is an unfortunate series of events that have forced this situation to occur. So thank you.
Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Some of you may not know, 1977, some of you weren't even born yet. That was my first year on the auxiliary. And I started with the auxiliary and I worked my way up as the permanent intermittent, and then in 1980 I became a full-time police officer. So I was there with you folks early on, cutting trees down for you, getting the pathway going for you. And I'm sorry that this has happened. I can understand accreditation to a point, but I think you all were painted with the same brush, and there should have been some leeway into some sort of being grandfathered in. If you've had, close to 2,000 hours of service and training, that should have been all thought about and put into perspective. But apparently that wasn't done. And maybe that's something that should looked into, and maybe the governor, before he leaves, could do something with respect to that, but I don't know. But maybe it's something we could talk to our legislative leaders about, and maybe they can try to do something with respect to that. But you guys have always, and gals, have been a big part of this community, more ways than one. Ashland Day, you're always there. You are always there, and greatly appreciated. Halloween Parade, you are always there. Okay? Holiday lighting, you are always there. It goes on and on and on and on. A lot of members have come and gone. You folks you're here, and we greatly appreciate all the effort and work that you have done. It is going to be a big loss. It'll be a big loss for all of us. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing what you do. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Joe. Yolanda, go ahead.
So I also want to give my thanks. I don't have any specifics like Steve and Joe, but certainly at the events that I've been at and talking to you at, farmers market or just different places, I've really appreciated. And I remember when I first got on the select board, understanding that there is a difference, but not a big difference in regards to our auxiliary. You are there, you are helpful, and I appreciate that. And I put a note for myself, how many of our auxiliary officers actually went on to become actual police officers, not only here in Ashland, but other locations. And I know through my years sitting here, that's been a few of you. So just thank you. It's always unfortunate when something that's been working for one town gets taken away because it's been seen as not working other places. So I hope that we can find a way to continue working with you as auxiliary officers. You'll have to change your name, but thank you all for what you've done for this community.
Yeah, just briefly, I'll just add my thanks to the group, but I also just want to note that a person who really personified auxiliary police is not here today, Leo, and I just want to please pass on our thanks and gratitude to him as well, if you would. Thank you.
So thank you all. I echo what everyone has said here. Like, we literally could not have events in Ashland without all of you. So, I have faith that that we will see you in potentially a different format, but that we will still see you at our events and around town in the near future. So, with that, on behalf of the Select Board, I have a proclamation recognizing the Ashland Auxiliary Police that I'm going to read. Whereas the Ashland Auxiliary Police have been a very active and visible group in the community for many years, and whereas the members have changed over the years, but the task at hand has always been giving back to the community and assisting with public safety, and whereas the definition of auxiliary is providing supplementary or additional help and support, which seems insignificant to all they have done for this community. And whereas the Ashland Auxiliary is a small group of very dedicated members, the presence in the community would lead you to think that the organization is much larger than it actually is. Some of the members are former full-time staff members that have continued to serve the community even after retirement. And whereas the number of hours and funding donated each and every year is tremendous, and in some cases they have made certain events attainable. And whereas the Ashland Auxiliary Police were recognized for the service by being named Ashland Days Citizen of the Year in 2019, and whereas with the implementation of new laws, we will have to disband our auxiliary police department as it stands today, we thank the many men and women, both past and present, for the support they have provided for so many years. And now, therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Ashland, recognize and proclaim Wednesday, June 15th, 2022 as Ashland Auxiliary Police Day. We urge all residents to make known their appreciation for the devotion to the town of Ashland. We wish all the members good health and good fortune. Signed, Brandy Kinsman, Chair, on behalf of the Select Board. So thank you. I'm going to give this to you. And we also have a Board of Selectmen. It's an ancient relic coin for each of you. It has the seal of Ashland on one side and Town Hall with the Board of Selectmen on the other. And just as a token of our thanks and appreciation for all the work that you've done, and something for you as well. So I'll give this to Chief Briggs. And
Steve, you want to give them a little history about that coin?
So the coin is the challenge coin.
challenge coin.
And so a couple things, those coins were made prior to changing the Board of Selectmen to the Select Board. So they say Board of Selectmen, so we affectionately they're affectionately called the BS coin. So we hope you appreciate that. But with all challenge coins, if it should remain in your possession at all times in case somebody should challenge you at a local establishment, and if you don't have your coin, guess what?
You're on tap.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
sure.
Always time.
There's always time for a photo.
Selfie.
Well, fortunately, Paul has a very nice camera, so
I know.
get a nice shot for us.
Missing anybody?
Who's watching town?
You can run from here.
Okay.
Thank you, folks,
Great.
for being here.
Thank you so much.
Are we not
Thanks,
doing
everyone.
Thank you.
Karas?
Yeah, okay. We're gonna,
Think they would stay for that?
okay. Okay, so our next item on our agenda is the introduction of Cara Rossi as police chief, and we're waiting. We don't have her here yet. So we are waiting. Okay. All right. So while we're waiting, do we want to go ahead and approve our consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Reeves, aye.
Mitchell, I.
Sure, aye.
Kinsman, aye. And it's just as a part of the consent agenda, I just wanted to thank Kevin Mullen for his service to the Sustainability Committee, and Joanne Fahey from the Council on Aging, too, for her
Yeah,
service.
thanks to the both of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that took 32 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have taken my time, said that.
Okay.
I made the motion.
Do you want to discuss his evaluation? Should be a 2-minute.
Why don't we discuss the town manager evaluation, because that should be pretty quick. So in our packets, we have the same evaluation form that we've used in past years. Does anyone have any changes or questions to
Can we
sort of?
get that electronically, similar how we got the town council
Yeah.
evaluation
Yeah,
form?
we
do
can,
it
we
in
can
Google
send,
Doc?
electronically. I've always used it.
I
Like a
mean,
Google Doc?
I've created, yeah,
That worked out pretty well, I thought anyway.
right, if we can,
So, so Susan, is that something that we can put into a Google Doc?
I would be happy to.
Okay,
yeah, because I've typically created my own,
okay.
you know, I would download it, print it, and then,
Huh,
so.
okay.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. And then, so from a timeline perspective, the process is that we all complete the evaluations, we all sit down individually with Michael. You'll send the evaluation forms to me directly, and then we'll plan to do the public
Yeah, right.
evaluation process,
right,
to
you-
do a
you
summary,
compilation.
in time for our next meeting. Does that
Sure.
timeline work well?
yeah, do you want to just kind of go through a more specific timeline?
Oh, sure, yeah, we can do that.
So what we could do, if the board is amenable to this timeline, do a I can have my self-evaluation to you by June 24th. And that would allow from June 24th to July 6th for the board members to do their evaluation and have us each have a chance to do our one-on-ones together. And then give the individual evaluations to the chair to consolidate, and that could happen between July 6th and July 13th, if
Okay.
that works for you.
Yep. Does that work
Because
for
we're
every?
meeting on the
13th.
13th, not the 6th.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Is that?
That works?
That works for
That works.
everybody?
okay.
So we have it done by the 6th, is that?
Yes.
Correct.
So, yeah, so if you finish your evaluation.
Conversations and our discussions with Michael done by the 6th, to be ready for the
Yes.
15th, right?
No, well, beforehand, because she needs to have it consolidated by the
Yeah,
13th.
yeah. By the 6th, if you guys can get that to me
Yeah.
by the 6th, I think I
Yep,
can pull it all
that'd be great.
together in time.
She's trying to get on
Okay.
Spare the time for us and open up your schedule for us so we can sit and talk for 30 seconds.
Okay,
Okay.
do that.
Sounds
Yes,
good.
because we know it's a 30-second conversation.
I know.
You might want to do the scholarship discussion, too. It's a quickie.
Just real quick. Susan, do we have anybody in the waiting room?
No, we do not.
Okay.
We're having something's weird.
Some-
Who's that? Oh.
Bear with us, guys. We're just trying to make sure that our technology is working correctly.
Why don't we do that in the meantime, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can do that.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting for, we're trying to fix some technology issues, but why don't we go ahead and move on our agenda and discuss the scholarship awards to graduating seniors. So Yolanda and, Yolanda, it's
So Joe and
it's
I
all
were
you.
this subcommittee. We probably had about 20 students submit applications for our scholarship. We look at what they've done for community service, and we try to choose students that do things for the broader community, not maybe just necessarily in the schools. And then we also take into consideration if students have gotten other scholarships, because one of our thoughts is it's good to share the wealth. And so after deliberation and discussion, our two scholarships, and we had changed it so that it didn't necessarily have to be a male and a female, but it did turn out this year that it was. So Molly Orr received one, and Siddharth Tilak received the second one. So congratulations to Molly and Siddharth, and of course to all the seniors who graduated from the high school It was another very nice graduation ceremony. It was great to be back inside and a little more traditional, so that was good. One thing I did want to bring up is when Joe and I have met, and we had the same discussion last year and it never went anywhere, is that rather than just giving out 2 scholarships, either one of 2 things, either one, up the amount of our scholarship or potentially give a 3rd scholarship. We currently give 2 $1,500 scholarships. $1,500 doesn't go quite as far as it used to, so I would either recommend we bump them both to 2,000, or we consider giving a 3rd one, and again, sort of spreading that wealth of helping students who have given back to the community in their next steps.
Oh, that's a good recommendation. So,
We, again,
Not
not for a
for
vote
now.
tonight,
Yeah.
but as we're looking at different things, it would be good to just have
Yeah.
that discussion and then decide.
yeah. Well,
At least plant the seed now.
Yeah.
it's good to start talking about it now.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you, Yolanda and Joe, for
Our pleasure.
reviewing all these and for being at class day, where all the scholarships were presented
Yep.
and graduation too. So
Yeah.
It's been a busy few weeks.
Yes.
So, and congratulations to Molly and Sid. I know that they are very well deserving. And
Yep.
so we are thrilled to be able to help them as they move on to college. So,
Yep.
all right. So thank you. So how are we doing with?
We're making it.
Oh, was it because? No.
Talk amongst yourselves. Fun with technology.
So we're having trouble.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it appears.
Susan's saying that she's not posted. And there's none.
So who is the host?
Should we?
Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
That would be a good idea.
Okay.
So I think because of the technology issues that we're having right now, we're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break and pause, and hopefully we'll be back in full gear in just a couple minutes. So bear with us. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Troubleshoot mode.
Oh, there's 4 people in this weight room.
Yeah, can you switch me back to co-host or host?
I can. There's DeSonia too.
Okay, I think we've got it figured out as soon as.
Yeah.
So it's on this one?
I mean, Mark DeSoni, not in citizens' participation,
Susan, I didn't let it.
I know.
She's back to being a host. I don't know how they became a host.
Thank you.
Oh, we have people.
It's bizarre.
Sorry, everyone, we were having some technical difficulties, but I think we're back in business.
And yes, hi. I was kind of wondering if you could censor the whole town from listening here.
No, I lost control of the meeting, so everyone was in the waiting room and I couldn't let you in, but we're good now.
Well, that makes my dad feel real happy about me staying in here a little longer with him.
All right, they took a break. They're gonna go back on in just a couple minutes.
So we're talking back and forth, and it's going across the airwaves in the hall.
All right, I'm gonna zip it then.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We had a little bit of some technical difficulties. We knew it was kind of a strange start to the meeting when we didn't see Mr. DeSoni there. So glad to see you there, Mark, and other folks that have joined us. I do want to, we will get to citizens' participation so we can allow some comments, but before then I want to do continue with our agenda for the introduction of Cara Rossi as our police chief. I see Lieutenant Rossi, soon to be Chief Rossi, on our Zoom. I don't know if you have your camera that you're planning to put on or not, but we are thankful that you're here with us tonight. And I will turn it over to Michael.
So thank you, and Lieutenant Rossi, if you can hear me, you can feel free to unmute yourself and turn your video on. And just give you a couple minutes. It would not be a Zoom meeting without some kind of technical difficulties. She might have heard 5-minute break and thought it was a 5-minute break.
Well, you know what? Then let's go ahead and do citizens.
I think that's okay.
Okay, so let's go ahead and do citizens participation. We're kind of winging it tonight a little bit, but
It wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without.
but we're doing
Yeah.
okay. We're doing fine. So we have a couple folks that are here on our Zoom. Does anyone have something for citizens participation tonight? Please use the raise hand function of Zoom or raise your hand. Can they hear us?
It's as if
Paul,
they.
Paul, can they hear us? I don't think they can hear us.
Susan, can you shake your head if you can hear us? Because you're muted.
Susan,
Can you give us a
Mark,
thumbs up?
Anna, can you guys hear us?
Yes,
You can.
I can
Okay.
now.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. We were, I was talking to you all and nobody was listening to me. It's like my household all over again.
And there's Cara.
And there's Cara too. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. All right, take 5. We are. Let's go ahead and let's go introduce. We'll introduce Cara Rossi as our incoming police chief. Cara, we're super excited, Lieutenant Rossi. We are super excited that you're going to be coming to Ashland. I know that you're not officially sworn in for a little while yet, but we appreciate your coming to speak with us tonight and for us to see you. I'm going to turn it over to Michael before we all give some personal comments, but welcome and can't wait to see you in person soon. So, Michael?
Sure. Thank you, Brandy. You pretty much covered a lot of it. So we're joined tonight by Lieutenant Rossi, who was selected to be our next police chief here in Ashland. Lieutenant Rossi comes to us with a multi-decade career in law enforcement, I believe 28 or 29 years now, all with the Natick Police Department. She's risen up through the ranks as a patrol officer, then to sergeant, and then lieutenant. And after a very public process and a vigorous process, I would say, was selected as our police chief to lead us into the next decade or so, or at least until you get to your retirement age, right? So that being said, actually before that, I will let everybody know that Chief Rossi will be sworn in on July 5th. We will be having a public swearing-in ceremony the following week. We were thinking about doing it that week, but with the 4th of July holiday, I figured a lot of people would be out. So, Chief Rossi, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you very much. Obviously, I'm honored to be the next chief of police in Ashland. This, for me, I was reminded actually by a colleague that I started with many, many, many years ago. He reminded me last week that I had made a mention that I didn't even remember 25 years ago, that my goal was to come home at the end of my career and be the chief of my hometown. So here I am. I thank you all so much for this opportunity. I look forward to what we have in store as a department and as a town. I was very encouraged by a meeting that I had today. Michael was part of that meeting. I think we're headed for some really, really great things as a town and as a police department. So I'm just super excited and happy to be leading the department forward going from today on. Thank you.
I do want to acknowledge that we have Chief Briggs here, as well as Sergeant Piers and Vincula, and Officer Foodie as well. So
Great, thank you. So I'll open it up to the board. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Chief Rossi? Joe?
Congratulations, Cara.
Thank you.
It's, I think it's well deserved, and I know that you'll do a good job. And I'm sure that the men and women of the APD won't let you down. I'm pretty sure of that. We have a new building, we have new people, and all we can do is look up. So let's keep that on a focus. So good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yolanda, go ahead.
Congratulations, and I look forward to getting to know you a little bit better as our chief. And I think it is an exciting time for the Ashland Police Department, I think, to bring in a new chief to work with the great men and women we already have in the department, as well as the new building. So congratulations and welcome home.
Thank you.
I guess it's my turn. We're going down the line here, Cara. So I got a chance to meet you for the first time when you completed your interview a few months ago, I think. But I just wanted to congratulate you. Welcome back home, certainly. I didn't know you until we met at that point, but, know your family. My son Matt and John graduated Ashland High School together. Know your Uncle Paul very well. And so, again, I congratulate you and extend best wishes for success here in Ashland.
Thank you. Truly the beauty of a small town.
Congratulations, Lieutenant Rossi. Of course, I met you a few years ago when you refused to take my softball advice, but, that's all right. But, she did. Anyway, so congratulations, and I also, want to take this opportunity to thank Acting Chief Briggs for his work over the past. It's been quite a while, and things have been going very well. And also thank Michael and the rest of the board and the community for, I think it was a very positive search process. So, hopefully onward and upward from here. And I think it's been a lot of good work by a lot of people throughout this process. So thank you.
I will definitely add my congratulations. For me personally, what I'm most excited about is your record of not only community policing, but the collaboration with other groups within the community. I know you were just really recently recognized in Natick as a community champion by Natick 180, and which is equivalent to like our decisions at every turn. And I know that that's a big has been a big focus for you as far as working with substance abuse. And I know that I'm sure that our Decisions at Every Turn coalition will benefit greatly from your experience and what you've done in Natick. I'm also really excited about the work that you've done with racial equity. I know that Natick had been participating in the REMAP program, and I'm looking forward to lots of conversations about what we can do in Ashland to move things forward. So I look forward to working with you, and it's an exciting time for Ashland. So congratulations and welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay. Okay, all right.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you in person soon.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Keep walking.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
So just real quick, just because we were having some technical difficulties, I hate saying that because now I feel like I'm going to jinx it and we're going to have more technical difficulties. I did want to open it up for citizens' participation. I know we have a couple folks that are joining us via Zoom. If anyone wants to make comment via citizen participation, please feel free to raise your hand. And I see Mr. DeSoni. Mark, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. And technical difficulties, they do happen to the best of us. And I'd like to thank the town manager for a well-picked chief, for Cara Rossi. That she is a hometowner and a well-etiquette sort of person, and the family should be doubly proud to have her here back home to keep the town in good shape. But I'm here because I wanted to make a point. I was at the historical committee meeting last night online, and they're going to be breaking up a couple of committee people because they're sick of the town griping and bull crapping against them on certain things.
Hold on one second, Mark. Paul, can you turn that up a little bit? Just a little bit, yeah. Maybe it's...
Turn up my own. I'm here in person.
Okay, let's... Mark, go ahead and continue, Mark. I'm sorry. We couldn't hear you. We couldn't hear you very, very well from here, so...
Well, if I was there, I'd probably be breaking the microphone. No problem. I'm calling about the historic committee. I was on with them last night, and at the end, a couple of the members are going to be leaving because of town, some of the town citizens, and the social networking has been kind of badgering them over the demo news, everything else that was going on in the town meeting. And they're getting tired of people not being positive and thinking that historical people should help, are helping, but they wanted to just be together. And they were saying that a couple, I'm not going to say names, but they did say names in the meeting. I'm not going to say the names because I know who they are, and they're complete opposite of me. I'm just saying the historical committee should not be taking all the I'll say the bull crap that they've been taking recently. I'm on their side. I'm on everybody's side, all the committees. The reason why I don't go on committees is because I do want to keep my friends. That includes everybody at the select board table, everybody in the other meetings I talk on. And the only committee I'm on now, recently, is the town cable. And that's once every 10 years, so I get to breathe and do what I do. It says speak out as a town citizen and be positive, not negative. And if the town can't mind the P's and Q's and not be on a committee so they can understand what happens in committees to help the town, they shouldn't gripe at other people when they can just be themselves who are trying to be for the town. So I'm saying that for the historic committee, as for myself, I am not going to change who I am, how I am, and what I do, but I'm going to be the town citizen participator that I can. And this past town election with 484, those gripers have no right to gripe. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Does anyone else have any comments for citizens' participation? Anna, I see your hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you.
I think you're muted now, Anna.
Thank you.
There you go.
Anna Tesmanitsky, 4 Meeting House Path, Ashland, Mass. I am a planning board member, but I'm speaking as a resident. So I am commenting on, I believe one of the agenda items is just discussion about parking around Ashland State Park. And as a resident that has lived, in the past, I've lived on Metropolitan Avenue in one of the duplexes right at the end of Metropolitan Ave, right next to the entrance to the park. And as a child, I walked in Ashland State Park a lot, and I've seen the community change and the use of the park change, both by folks from Ashland and other communities nearby. And as an immigrant, I found that even back then, it was a refuge for folks who may not be able to afford traveling far, who might be working class folk, like my parents who were immigrants and political refugees. And so I'm speaking kind of as an Ashland resident, as an immigrant, as someone who cares deeply about Ashland State Park, as someone who now takes my dog there almost every week, and who can appreciate the importance of keeping that park safe, accessible, but also a place that we can all enjoy, both Ashland residents and neighbors from communities nearby. So I want to be clear that I really appreciate the safety concerns of parking on streets near the park. I do believe that we as a community have a responsibility to address those safety concerns. And I think we can also work towards making the park space more accessible to those that cannot travel elsewhere and deserve to be part of our community. And I'll add that it's a wonderful economic development opportunity for Ashland as well, that we as a community may want to think about as far as having overflow parking in our MBTA lot be made available to our residents and to our visitors, and considering working with our regional bus authorities, such as the Metro West Regional Transit Authority, to have shuttles be available connecting not only Framingham to our businesses on 135, but also to our MBTA station and to our park, Ashland State Park. We have quite a bit of tourism that we get to the park that we're not taking advantage of as far as economic opportunity. And we may want to think about how to partner with those transportation authorities that we can work with closely, the MBTA and the Metro West Regional Transit Authority, to really make this particular tourism opportunity flourish for our community, and obviously to allow locals who live in Ashland to have additional overflow parking that they need when we have such an increase in interest in open space during COVID and in inflation, where people cannot drive very far. So a very kind of dense statement. There's a lot in there, and I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
So thank you, Anna. I know that parking over by the state park has been an issue for a while, and you're correct. We do have an item on our agenda to talk about limiting some of the parking that is happening in our neighborhoods. I think we need to work with DCR on trying to find some good solutions, and I like the ideas that you have. I think that we do need to like I said, partner with DCR and finding out what is a good solution for potentially overflow parking. I know that the answer is not in our neighborhoods. So, but I appreciate your comments and your feedback. So thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
So, if there's no other citizens here for participation, I'm going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which was a scheduled hearing for a reconsideration of designation of dangerous dog. I can just open the public hearing. Okay. So, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing, and we're going to the hearing has been scheduled at the request of Cara, Terrell, and Ed Perry to reconsider the classification of their dog Coco as a dangerous dog. The dangerous dog classification was determined as a result of the hearing that took place on November 7th, 2018. And what I would say at this point is that I'd like to ask for consideration to continue this hearing until our next meeting. We are still in the process of gathering information. I think
Don't we need to open it and then do the continuation?
Did I just
Motion to open the hearing as presented.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. 5-0. Okay. So what I would suggest is that we continue the public hearing for
To
our next meeting.
On the 13th.
On the
Motion-
13th?
Motion to continue the public hearing on the dangerous dog until July 13th at 7:30 PM.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. So the hearing will be continued for July 13th.
At 7:30?
7:30.
Okay.
All right. Good. Thank you. That was my first opening of a public hearing, so,
Good. Hey, good job.
Okay. You guys are bearing with me really well tonight, so
Okay.
thank you. Okay, so moving on to old new business, discuss town council evaluation and a vote to reappoint. Let me get all my information. We had, so thank you to the board for sending in your evaluations of town council. Michael and I had met with Attorney Mead last week to discuss the comments. We'll just kind of go through a summary of the Google form that Susan put together. Was great because it made consolidations super easy. So thank you to Susan for doing that. And so just to kind of go through this pretty quickly, for the qualitative, we had rated on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being sort of the lowest and 5 being the highest. For Des Town Council, God, I need my glasses are just my contacts. It's a really small. Maybe Michael needs to help me out. These younger eyes. I know the numbers. The numbers are big.
Yeah, just to briefly run through the categories, and I won't read the full list here, but first one, does town council respond to the needs and the requests of the board and the staff? Town council scored a 3.8 out of a 5. And I will just preface this by saying all of these scores are out of a 5-point scale, with 5 being the highest. Does the town council keep board and staff informed of new developments in the legislature, et cetera? They scored a 3.4. Does town council encourage board members and staff to discuss problems and proactively discuss them ahead of time? 3.2 was scored there. Does town council maintain effective communications with the board? Town council scored 3.4. Does town council have a proactive approach to legal issues? That was scored as a 3.6. This next one was the highest. Does town council see themselves as part of our town's executive team? Scored a 3.8. Next, does town council have the ability to select the appropriate and responsible attorneys for whatever issue that they're working on? 3.6 on that one. The next one received the lowest score of a 3.0, which is, does town council monitor their work quality and costs? Next, does town council favor preventative rather than corrective measures? Again, that was a 3.6. And then, does town council communicate well with people, not just including the board and staff, but with other board members and committee members and other attorneys? And town council scored a 3.4 on that.
So the comments were pretty consistent throughout all 5 of us, and the qualitative comments also were pretty consistent. We all said that town council was very knowledgeable and a great resource, effective in pending litigation. She had conducted open meeting law training for us virtually this year, which I think was a very good benefit. So some of the things that we talked about and some of the concerns that were brought up as areas of improvement were also pretty consistent. We talked about having more regular legal updates and just more communication in general, I think, from council. And also just some potential either additional staffing or availability of town council. I know that we've had trouble getting on her calendar, especially short notice. It's tough. So one of the things that we had discussed was having being on town council's calendar every other month as a standing meeting for her to come to our board meetings. She has us on her calendar for July 13th for our next meeting, so we can kind of start that process if that kind of works for. That's great. That works for all of you.
And if she's not available, maybe one of her associates can be directed to attend.
Correct.
to
So this,
take her place.
this way, I mean, we don't have to meet with her every other month, but if we do have an issue or something, we know we're at least on her schedule and got first dibs, if you will, for that particular month.
Okay. Does anyone else have any comments or concerns?
Yeah, no, I think that's good, because, every time I think I understand the open meeting law, something else happens and I don't understand it, so, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, and generally, I think it's been a positive relationship for many years.
Okay.
So, good.
I agree. So
we need to reappoint.
we do need to reappoint. So if I could get a motion to reappoint?
I move that the select board reappoints
Your
Mead.
mic's not on. There you go.
I make a motion that the select board reappoint Mead, Telemann, and Costa as town council for the, to be effective immediately and expire on June 30th, 2023.
Could I? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 5-0. So we will go ahead and let town council know that they've been reappointed for another year. And thank you to Lisa Mead and all her staff. They've included bios in our packet, so which I think is really good.
Yeah.
To kind of give you an idea of the depth and breadth of their resources there. So so thank you to Attorney Mead. Moving on in our agenda, discuss / vote on year-end transfers. Michael, I'll turn it over to you.
So this is an annual occurrence now, where the board is asked to transfer money in between line items at the end of the year, basically to balance our books. This requires any transfers out of the Finance Committee Reserve Fund only needs a vote from the Finance Committee, but other transfers need the vote and approval of the Select Board in addition to the Finance Committee. So we typically wait until the last meeting in the fiscal year so we can present this to you and get everything, get all the costs associated with this. And I'll go through what we're looking at transferring from accounts are the salary contingency account in the amount of $141,000, the unemployment account in the amount of $71,000, and then town council legal services in the amount of $30,000, which totals up to $242,650. That will go to increase funding into the following accounts. And this is all related to salaries and compensation. So the town manager account, the town accountant account, assessing, the treasurer collector, the town clerk, planning, human resources, inspections, fire, DPW, and library. And so that totals $141,150. This covers both non-union and collective bargaining agreements. You don't see police here, even though they had a collective bargaining agreement that was recently settled, because there were so many vacancies in that department. We were able to handle that those collective bargaining agreements within that line item. And then we're also looking at covering $101,000 in expenses, and that includes the town accountant's budget, central purchasing, human resources for both hiring expenses and contracted services, the fuel account, cemetery, parks, and trees, and then also other insurance. And again, that totals $101,000. So, in total, we're looking at transferring $242,650.
Okay. And so just to kind of clarify the salaries that we're increasing the funding to, this was basically merit increases, bonus,
Parity.
any bonuses. And then we had gotten an email from Julie Nardone questioning things. I just wanted to just ask about the longevity payment and what that is and how that gets factored in.
Yeah, longevity is part of our contractual agreements and then also part of our non-union employment handbook. It's been around for probably at least 35 years. And basically that awards a bonus payment starting at, I believe, at $800, and it can range up to $1,400 depending on how many years of service an employee has rendered to the town. I believe it starts at 5 years, and then it increases in increments beyond that. What we try to do, and we're successful in doing this because we know what this cost is ahead of time, we include that as part of the budget. So none of these transfers here are associated with longevity payments.
Okay. So this is more just, this is specific things that we had planned to allocate for. We just didn't have the actual numbers at when we approved the budget.
Right, and that's why we have a salary contingency account. So this covers COLA increases, cost of living adjustments, merit increases, and then reclassification of positions.
Okay. And that 141,000 covers approximately how many employees? Do you know?
120.
Okay. So that's,
Significant.
yeah, it's a significant amount of employees. Okay. All right. Thank you. Does the board have any questions, Joe?
I have two. Thank you, Madam Chair. The first one, the fuel account. Are we taking into consideration the gas prices, or are those prices that we have locked in for a certain period? And has that period expired, and are we looking to have to increase that figure at some point?
We did, so we fill up probably twice a year, and it's based on the market rate.
Okay.
So yes, because of the rise in gas prices, we've had to transfer the money this year. We've built in an increase into the budget for FY23 that was passed at town meeting. So it definitely is higher than the previous year.
Okay, thank you. And the other one is other insurance. If you could explain that for me, please.
So other insurance includes things like 111, oh, not 111F. Susan, you probably have a better breakdown of what the other insurance line in specific detail.
Of course, you asked me and I have nothing in front of me, but other insurance could be any type of insurance we have, whether it's property, vehicles, it would be the additional properties we bring on, storage tanks, any facility the town has.
Yep.
Corner spot, all of that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sounds good. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Joe asked my questions.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right.
No, that's okay.
Nope, that's all good.
Don't
We
need to
can,
ask the same
we
question
can,
twice, as long as I got my information.
we can go ahead and move on to a vote. So could I get a motion to approve the year-end transfers as presented?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 5-0, so I think we're good. Thank you, Michael.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Discuss potential future projects. We have two things listed here. We have the Olive Street property owned by the town of Ashland and the public safety facilities that are in our downtown. So let's go ahead and start with the Olive Street property. We had, back in April, when we had our multi-board meeting with the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Affordable Housing Trust, one of the things that we had discussed was potentially utilizing some town property to build affordable housing. And so the Affordable Housing Trust met, and we had received a memo from the chair, Steve Greenberg, who's actually here with us today. Hi, Steve. Thank you for joining us. Asking us for permission to, they had voted on May 19th to move forward and contact us to make a proposal. And so since Steve is here, I'm not going to read your memo. I can turn it over to you, and you can kind of tell us a little bit about what you guys had voted on and what you're proposing to do. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the board, and Michael and Jen, thank you for hearing us on this topic this evening. As the chair mentioned, the Affordable Trust drafted a memo requesting from the Board of Selectmen, who control the land, if the Affordable Trust could move forward with proposals to do something with the Olive Street parcel, which the town has owned for quite a while. If the board remembers, that parcel was purchased with Community Preservation Act funds, and the buckets that the money came from were affordable housing and open space. So in the memo, it's mentioned that not only would we like to see some affordable housing developed on that site, but I think it'd be important to increase the inventory of fields in town. I've talked to some folks at DPW, and I think it's important to maybe take that a step further than Olive Street, and I can expound on that if you want to listen to me talk for another minute or two. But the gist of the memo was to do something with Olive Street that's positive in terms of affordable housing and open space. So on behalf of the trust, we'd like to request permission to do something with that parcel. Anything relative to affordable housing would come out of the affordable housing funds in the bank, and anything relative to the open space might come from another source.
Go ahead, Steve.
So, Steve, conduct various studies. What is a little bit more specific on various studies?
Sure. If I could go back in time, Steve. So there were a couple of big items in front of the town 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago, those being the fields at the high school and Warren Woods. And the town bonded quite a bit of money, and we wound up with two substantial projects. But when the previous select board wanted to purchase the properties at Olive Street and other parcels out of the Western Nurseries, the Megget bankruptcy, one of those parcels was Olive Street. And in order to make Olive Street a functional parcel, the board also chose to purchase the Simpson property, which was the horse farm. And with those parcels, that's what the memo's about. But going back to fields for a second, and I was proud to be a member of a committee way back when that studied all fields and all field access and future use. And I looked up that work. It was done by Gale Associates, I think it was, back in 2012, 2013. So lots happened in town since then, and I think there's a lot more kids running around. And those kids and adults need a place to play. Mm. So
who would you anticipate doing the studies? Is this
I think the only experts are from out of town, Steve.
Yeah, no, just
so
curious. Yeah.
I think there are multitude of engineering firms out there that can incorporate a field study in town that I think might benefit the schools and the public and DPW and the town at large. So I'd like to see something like that go forward. And it was a wonderful report. It was extensive and expensive. So, but it was good. I think it was very well received, and I think the town reaped a lot of benefit from that report.
Right. The other thing I would just mention, because we're dealing with CPC funding, of course, we need to put restrictions on
deed restrictions.
Right, deed.
Yeah, we're real good at that. We're real good at that.
But that might be part of the study as well.
I'm just suggesting it. I think whoever runs with it, it would be important to follow the letter of the law.
Well,
So-
that's understood, that we have to follow the letter. I'm just suggesting that as part of your assessment moving forward, that be part of the, kind of the
deed
study
restrictions be
material.
applied. Absolutely. I mean, that's the way the law is written. Again, the parcel on Olive Street and other parcels have been purchased with CPC funds, and the law dictates that there be deed restrictions.
Yep. Yeah, and I won't argue the fact that we don't do a good job with restrictions, so.
It's, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. It's a challenge for me, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
All right, go ahead, Ron.
So Steve, I thought you're coming to us to propose a study for recreational needs in the town?
Well, I
Is that-
think the memo was about Olive Street.
Yeah.
And again, Olive Street came out of two buckets. So I think it would be self-serving on the Affordable Trust part to just focus on the affordable housing component. And I think if something's going to happen with that land, it has to happen in tandem with an open space component.
Right, so I guess I'm not seeing how we got to the point of now, with all this, we're trying to do a comprehensive plan. You guys have got a directive to do affordable housing.
Yeah.
And so you're using that to propose doing a study on playing fields at this point in time? How does that?
I'm here about a memo on Olive Street. So if we're going to do an affordable component, I'd like the trust to be involved in the affordable component.
Yeah.
I'd like to work in tandem with an open space recreational component to that same parcel.
Well, then I think, okay, so that means contacting all the parties involved, including the Open Space Committee. We just had a meeting with them about open space needs. I guess I'm not sure I'm seeing in the context of this housing development why we now need to go back to look at playing fields again, and how you got into that.
Again, I'm not sure how else to explain it. The parcel was bought out of two buckets. So if something happens in that parcel, it needs to happen out of both buckets.
Okay. I guess I'm just not seeing it as a priority for you guys who's involved with affordable housing.
Rob, I don't care who runs the show. All I'm here is representing the Affordable Trust. I want to see affordable housing at Olive
Sure.
Street. I'd also like to see, as a citizen, I'd like to see something happen with playing fields
Okay,
at Olive
so
Street.
that's your agenda, but it's not part of your role.
Well,
guess I'm-
I think it would be disingenuous to come before you about the parcel and just talk about affordable housing.
Well, I think, okay, but I guess I'm not inclined to support doing a playing field study in conjunction with, at this time, when we're looking at a comprehensive plan, and I guess I see it as being out of order and kind of irrelevant.
So what I would say, just kind of, when we talk about things like, studies, there's going to have to be some looking at the wetlands that are in the area. That's going to be something that, the delineation of the wetlands, that's going to have to happen.
Exactly.
There's going to have to be some site investigation in general. I think that goes back to, the affordable housing. And, there has been some discussion about potentially using some of that property for fields. And so I think, my question is just, it sounds like so is the trust going to kind of spearhead these, or are you looking to the town are you looking for the town to take initiative to kind of develop what the site investigation, what the scope is going to look like? I'm just trying to figure out what.
Well, I think the Affordable Trust is taking the initiative.
Okay.
But the parcel's controlled by the board.
Yeah, okay.
So if the board would like the trust to be involved, and the board would like the trust to study the entire parcel, and obviously wetlands delineation, whatever engineering needs to be done, that's all going to benefit any other potential use to the parcel in addition to affordable housing.
Okay. Yolanda and then Joe.
So if anything, I think I applaud Steve for saying to us that he's not just coming before us about affordable housing, right? It's a parcel that we know has been bought with affordable and open space. So to your point, Rob, yes, we're looking at doing a comprehensive plan. We know that process in itself is gonna take a little bit. So I would hope that we don't hold up anything that affordable housing wants to do on that location while we figure out the comprehensive plan
Right, but it's not up to
process.
them to start advocating for playing field versus open space.
I don't
or
think
anything.
I'm
He's
not going to
advocating.
apologize
Yes,
for
he is.
advocating for fields.
He's bringing
Rob.
this
I'm
into
not gonna-
this
I'm not going to
process.
apologize
This
for
is a
that.
housing process. And now you want to commission a playing field study.
I'm not
in
commissioning
conjunction with
anything,
that.
I'm making a suggestion. All I did
Okay,
was make a
so that's
suggestion.
what exactly.
And
that's
I
what
don't
I'm
think
saying.
open space came to you and suggested something that could happen for affordable housing if you want to go there.
So,
But-
I would just say that I think this proposal coming from the Affordable Housing Trust is good. I think that having the perspective and making sure that we kind of look at the big picture with this parcel, because it is a big parcel, is something for us to keep in mind. And I know Joe wanted to add some.
Well, I'd like to term and support what Steve said. I'm on, truth be told, I'm on the Affordable Housing Trust Committee as well. And one of the things that we discussed was that some of the trust members were concerned about the town's involvement. And I said, well, right now, there are a lot of projects that the town is working on. So the White House, if you mind me using that reference, is under siege, and it's not January 6th, but it's all the projects that we have currently going on, that we would take on the responsibilities of having these studies done and having the work done to get these, wetland delineations and all this on the entire property. Now, if that means, in addition, showing what is available for open space for potential fields down the road, then so be it. We're willing to do that. The Affordable Trust is willing to do that. It also makes our project that we want to do much better, because if there are fields, and it doesn't have to be playing field, it can be an open space, it could be a soccer, it could be anything for that matter, as long as it's tied into recreational. It could be passive recreation for that matter. It could be an open field. And I think what Steve was trying to say, and I felt the tension here, is that we'd be willing, to ante up on it and give some, leeway to you folks, and then come up with a plan to show you and present. Now, we did one
Quite a while ago.
And I'd be happy to, Steve has presented it to the Affordable Trust, I'd be happy to, share it with you folks, just to give you an idea of what was done 13, 14 years ago, for that matter, maybe even longer. So you have an idea. But both of the two subjects are basically, you can't do one without the other in the study. Okay? So, and I don't think we're trying to be greedy that way. Yeah, we want to get affordable housing in. And if that means that we have to supply and provide, open space and field area for it, and we'd have to, pay for those studies, then so be it. I don't know, I don't want any friction here, because this is something that's benefiting the town as a whole. Unless you like driving by and looking at a bond that's,
Well,
So
Rob cut me off, and I didn't
Michael
get to
needs to
finish.
say something, so 1 second, please. Michael?
No, I was just going to say that this property has already had a number of studies done on it. I think that's fair to say. One question I had is, I recall there was a working group that was put together probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I remember...
Is that the habitat thing?
No, because it had, Beth Rosenblum was on it, a couple of other members. I'm just looking at the CPA projects database, and when they updated it, they referred to this 2018 working group. I don't remember exactly what that plan was, but...
I don't think anything got finished from that one. There was discussion, but nothing got finished.
But, my recommendation actually for both of these, but specifically to this one is, yeah, I think we can go ahead and do the site investigation work. But I also agree with Rob, the actual use of it should be probably factored into an integrated planning process. That was just my recommendation and thoughts.
Yolanda, I know you had something.
Yeah, and again, so I think the idea that they're coming forward, their job is affordable housing, that's great. It's a parcel that has been purchased with various buckets, so we all know that a restriction needs to be put on that reflects that. So, I support what Joe was saying, that let's at least look at the studies that have already been done, if there are studies available. Let's look at what was done in 2018, but let's not shut down the fact that the affordable housing wants to look at all the possible uses for this parcel. and we have the conservation, we have the comprehensive plan committee, comprehensive plan that's going to be moving forward. But I think we need to let this move forward in tandem, and it probably is time for us to look at our fields and our open space, right? We have the open space plan. Does that cover our field uses and whether or not we need more or not? So I think we should at least start looking at what we have from this parcel information, but also let affordable housing do a little bit more work and potentially present something.
Because we also know that affordable housing on this property or any property is going to take quite a bit of time to put together anyway. So I would hate for us to wait until a comprehensive plan is done 3 years from now before we start this process. Because I do think we can do some of the upfront work and so Steve, go ahead.
I do think that we should, we're going to be meeting jointly with the planning board very shortly. And maybe, just include that in the discussion before we actually move forward with this. I think I'm in favor of an assessment, by all means. I think those are important things. But I tend to agree with Michael and Rob in terms of, just the coordination component and just that aspect of it. And I think we're close to starting that process. I mean, earlier tonight we had a presentation about from the Open Space and Recreation Committee, and it was really, really good. Very informative for me, I think for the board as well. And I think, my big takeaway was the coordination again with the comprehensive / strategic plan component. So my recommendation is not to table this only until we, table it until at least we have that first discussion with the planning board and move forward with that. My gut sense is we're going to be moving forward with a comprehensive / strategic plan. So my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, my thought is I don't know how much that first meeting is going to change any of this. Because, if we decide to move forward with starting this process, we're not deciding anything. Like we're and I hear what you're saying. Like, it is going to be a town-wide community discussion. What ends up happening with that parcel? Like when we say fields, we don't know what kind of fields we potentially, and we don't even know how much space there is for fields.
Has anybody here walked that property?
Yeah, we've been on
Years
it.
ago.
Years ago. I mean, it is,
It's getting smaller
it's a
and
challenging
smaller
property,
and
that's
smaller.
for sure.
So
If we keep waiting, there won't be anything left but beavers.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it makes sense for me, at least, to start looking at even what we're dealing with there, because we don't know what it's hard to have a discussion about what fields we want to have there or how much affordable units when we don't even really kind of have a good sense of what the property currently is capable of right now. So
Well, that's the reason.
I'm in favor of moving that forward.
Madam, could you just clarify my comments? I think we should, whatever this parcel needs in terms of studies, and we rely on you folks to tell us, but it doesn't, at this point, it doesn't need a townwide study outside of the purview. It needs what's good on this parcel, what can we start doing there, and, and then we kind of coordinate it.
Yeah.
So that's the funding. I don't know if you're asking us for any funding or if you have funding, but you should be looking at what do I need to do to develop affordable housing, and what are the models we're thinking about, and that's a complex process. It's not getting into what does the town need comprehensively, and that's just the way I feel about it. And so, and I think,
And I
Michael's
apologize,
comments-
Rob, if I misspoke, but I'm not looking, the trust is not looking to run a townwide field study. This body, I would strongly suggest, run a town field study.
And that's what we'll discuss.
Yeah. We just want some affordable housing. I know it's a tough ask, but we'd like some affordable housing.
So you're asking us to support an assessment of affordable housing or affordable housing potential at that site?
We'd like to see what that parcel could
Okay.
Yes,
yield in
exactly.
terms
So
of affordable housing.
I think we're all supportive of that.
Yep.
What would be the most important thing first, Steve? You think a wetland delineation?
I think that, well, GLM did a study many years ago.
Oh,
I think,
favorites.
obviously, you have to start with the wetlands. And it's always exciting in this town to go in front of, anyway.
That delineation changes from year to year. If you don't do
It's
anything.
getting worse, Joe. It's getting worse.
Well, there's beaver diverters we can put in.
The last thing we want to do is lose that whole parcel to
No, sure.
wetlands and not be able to do anything affordable there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a good point. If there are things happening that we should intervene, that's something to consider.
Yeah.
Steve, do you remember the ratio of affordable versus open space funds that was used to purchase?
I don't remember exactly. I think it was both buckets plus general, so I'm
Okay.
sure the warrant's around somewhere.
Okay.
So-
It was a lot of money.
Do you need do we need to do
So
anything
basically,
to
because,
support this, or?
because the property is under the care of the select board, I think we would have to grant permission to allow the Affordable Housing Trust to move forward with the studies and some site investigation on the property.
So moved.
All right, do I have a second?
I may have to recuse myself.
Right, because you're on affordable
Okay.
housing.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That carries 4-0-1.
0-1.
Okay. So thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
And
Well,
I know David Rosenblum's on as well.
Oh,
I just wanted, hi, David. Just before we move on, I just wanted to see if there was anything else that you wanted to add as well.
No, I think Steve and you guys covered it quite well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Michael. $1.6 million
Okay.
in 2 different transactions, yeah.
Okay.
That was, the Weston Nurseries piece was $1.3 million. It was ordered by a judge. And then we purchased the Simpson property separately.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
13, 14 years ago. Thank you.
So thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
So you guys will move forward with this,
We
and
will.
I'm sure you'll
We will.
be in
We'll be in
contact
touch.
with, yep.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Just a quick point of discussion. I'm not sure that Mr. Mignani needs to recuse himself if he's on a committee, but I'll just throw that out.
Yeah.
So we should think about it.
Better to do it.
That was better. Yep.
All right.
I don't think you
Yeah.
do, but, you know.
Yeah.
I don't need another open meeting law violation or whatever for that matter.
Okay. So, thank you, guys. Moving on, we already covered, we need to talk about the public safety facilities as well.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think it was at our last meeting, we kind of talked, we were talking, I think, about downtown, and we had mentioned like the what we would do with the public safety buildings, the fire station, police station, once our new public safety building opened and it became online. I think we had talked about at that time to wait until we were kind of further along in the comprehensive plan process, because it is such a critical parcel.
Right. And that's why I asked to have this put on the agenda now, so we could start that conversation. We're under 3 months from substantial completion of the public safety building, so departments will be moving in. It's kind of interesting during, my reporting of the public safety building process, I've thrown out various reports or solicitations about what would people like to see at these sites. Now, and what's happened is there's lots of ideas. One of the things, thinking about it, one of the things that come to my mind first is, what are those buildings good for at this point? Now, the general consensus seems to be that the police station has no value and it should be knocked down, but I don't know that until somebody assesses the building and says, well, maybe it could be used for an alternate municipal purpose if it's rehabilitated and repurposed. I don't know that until a specialist comes in, an expert, and tells us that. I have no idea what the environmental issues of that parcel are at this point in time. We know that the plume is there. We don't know what kind of cleanup may or may not be needed. Joe, you and I were in the fire department this past Sunday, and it's 3 bays, but it's not a big space. I mean, everybody, so many folks say, okay, a brew pub, a restaurant or something, but it's not a very big space. So you put a kitchen in that footprint, and there's less space. So, I guess for me, again, it's an assessment issue. We should look at I think hiring a consultant to come in and give us an assessment of that property and what those potentials could be. I think there's a lot of great ideas out there. I mean, there's so many good ideas. I think any one of them, for me, are workable. But, can we actually do those things in this space without either adding on to the fire station, or is, let's say, public parking more important than repurposing the fire station, the police station? So, again, that's kind of my thoughts on this.
Thank you, Steve. I know it is a really important part of our downtown. I think it requires a lot of public input and sort of a formal public input process.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want to see at this point another committee. And I just don't want to see, and I'm going to use a committee, nameless committee, get bogged down for years of kind of talking about something. I think, to me, it would be money well spent to get an assessment and open it up to the community, and let's try to determine the best uses for it. To me, it's really an economic development issue as well. I think our economic development office should be taking the lead on this.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just question, so include the Cedar Street station in this study?
I did not, I think we probably should, but my gut sense is, and Michael, you can chime in on this, that there's a desire from the fire department and/or the DPW to use that as kind of additional either training space or storage space or, staging areas and so on.
But also facilities in both the town, municipal and school facilities would be looking for space.
Yeah.
And that's why I think part of this, all of these facilities should probably be mixed in with some integrated planning process, like, strategic or comprehensive plan.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my initial thoughts as to, kind of first steps with something like that, because again, the buildings are gonna be empty not that far in the future.
Yeah, Yolanda.
Yeah, I actually like that idea, Steve, about doing a study on what are the possibilities for the downtown. But to Michael's point, there are other needs here in town besides just economic development. We have space needs. So maybe look at some of our buildings that are not being fully utilized, and how we can really use them in the best the best capacity.
This could be a matter of having, that space be used as swing space for a little while, for municipal
Certainly
departments,
the police
while we do
department,
figure out a
yeah.
long-term plan.
Yeah.
I think the board, and I think everybody, the town, will need to be comfortable with them sitting empty for a little while we determine the best use. I think critics of that would point to something like the Valentine property and say, well, that's sat empty for, 4 years now. Which, if you look at other properties in similar situations, it really isn't that out of the ordinary. But I think where this could be different is that if you included in a integrated planning process, and people know that, okay, we're making progress towards figuring out what to do with that, and then having the ability to execute it once we have consensus on that, I think that would alleviate a lot of concerns with people.
It's almost one of those situations where hindsight is 20/20, right? As the public safety building was being built, if we had not had so many projects going on, it probably would have been good to do this study or do this analysis as we were getting ready to have these empty buildings. Because now, to your point, the police station and the fire station could be empty for a while as we do this review. So, and unfortunately, we are known for buying properties or doing things without really knowing what we're going to do with them. And I think, Valentine is a perfect example, right? So I like the idea of a study. I think, to your point, Michael, make it a broader study as to what are the needs of the community in regards to office space for the town or for the schools. But also, I would say, let's move quickly on this. Let's probably have to put out an RFP. Let's find a consultant who can come in. Let's get a list of the properties that we want included in that study, and don't give them 6 or 9 months. Give them, try to make it get done fairly quickly, so that we can make some decisions in, a short term.
Yeah. And I'm not advocating for the use of April, but is this something that her firm or a firm like hers can do? Is that what we'd be looking at?
I don't think so. I think we need somebody who would be really, really scientific in terms of a market study. Like what could this
building study.
Yeah, I mean, so
Structural
what
study.
a lot of let's see, what are the things that we hear most commonly about the fire station? Well, brew pub, restaurant, art center, playhouse, very, very similar things. Well, those are all great ideas, but can they actually be supported by the community and financially? Because we know we're going to have some kind of private partner as part of that.
Right.
But so instead of us having all of these ideas that I'm not saying they're unrealistic, I'm just saying they could be proven to be unrealistic. Why don't we have somebody come in and say, okay, well, what actually is feasible and what's possible? If you want to do X, you might have to do this type of build out and remediation. If you want to do Y, you might need to do this or that.
Right.
I would also think they could then look around at our surrounding communities and what is already being offered and look at, okay, do we really need another art center? Do we really need another X or Y, whatever is proposed?
Right.
So just, but thinking about our downtown, it's going to be transformed in the next potentially couple years. You
Right.
think about the revitalization that we're doing, and then also the potential mill building project, which will
Right.
bring more residents downtown, and that will change the economic development profile of our downtown. So I think that there's a lot of good things happening, and then we're looking to kick off this comprehensive plan process at town meeting in November, which isn't that far away. So I would hate to kind of go pretty far down the road of like thinking what this could be without kind of pulling it into that.
Right, but I think if you hire the right consultant, they will look at all that other information about what potentially is happening in your downtown. I mean, that's why you would hire a consultant. They can do that. They can look at, okay, this is your 5-year plan. Not that we have a 5-year plan right now, but this, that's what we're working on with the comprehensive plan. But even from the old comprehensive plan, you can see some of the thoughts and ideas about where we were going as a community. So I think they can move forward in conjunction, right? It's not, you have to do the comprehensive plan and then we look at this. Similar with the affordable housing. It's not, we have to do the comprehensive plan and then look forward. I think some of these things, it's not, some of the information we know. And granted, our community is changing. And one of the things I always talk about is we are building an Ashland for our future residents. Yes, we are looking at our current residents, but we're creating an Ashland that people want to stay in.
Right.
So,
Joe, do you want to?
Yeah, I'd like to have the opportunity to speak on this, being that I'm the chair of the Public Safety Building Committee, and the conversation that we had when we started this project a year and a half ago, we talked briefly about what we were going to do with those two buildings once the building was completed, the new public safety building was completed. The first and foremost thing that was discussed was that we're going to tear down the public police department because, one, it was a sick building, and two, you needed space for downtown for parking. Now, if that train of thought has changed over the past year and a half, these are the things that are going to happen when you get a committee and you have input from everybody and anybody. The changes of an idea will change 4 to 5 times because people have another idea. Oh, then we can do this or we can do that. And then it gets bogged down in ideas, and it never gets done. It never gets done. Case in point, Valentine property. Case in point, Olive Street property. I could keep going on, case in point, case in point. These two properties aren't involved in Article 97, so we have clear title to this. We can do whatever the heck we want to do with these properties. If we want to sell them to somebody, so be it. If we want to, make the taxes lighter on people by selling one property and not the other, then so be it. But, if we're looking at a downtown area where we want to provide parking, then, I don't want to put any money into a sick building. I worked it. I can tell you it's a sick building. It's a building that it's made out of brick, it's made out of stone, and I can tell you that, the plume runs right underneath it. So you want to tear that down and put something else up there, or put an additional, maybe a cultural center in, or this or that, and to continue with that potential of having somebody get ill over that fact? Make it a parking lot. I'm sorry. I just,
Well, and that might be the ultimate
But
best
why waste
plan.
what-
But, I don't know that. I'm not an expert, Joe. And
Neither am I.
So I think that's why I'm.
But I use common sense.
Well, and so do I use common sense, and that's why I'm advocating for an expert to tell us what possibly, what should not be done. And that's all I'm suggesting. I mean, none of us are experts here, so, that's my common sense answer.
So just to ask the question, as far as budget money to hire a consultant, resources, town resources to be able to dedicate to doing some investigation as to what this property could be, what would, where would we be with that, and how, what would be the timing of being able to do something like that?
Funding-wise, I mean, we didn't budget for it.
Yeah.
That could certainly be a goal of mine, is to figure out how to fund something like that.
Would this be something DLTA funds that would be available for, from MAPC? If we worked with them to do it?
Potentially. I'd have to look at that. Usually they focus on regionalization and housing
Yeah,
related
but
stuff.
they're looking for projects, so, I don't
Okay.
know, something to consider.
Potentially. Like I said, that could be a goal of mine for the coming year, to figure out, how to fund something like this.
And Brandy, one other comment, and then we can move on, is just, I don't think we should be, and I think you both referred to this, is, just because we're having we're planning to pursue the comprehensive and strategic plan, we shouldn't be stopping things. Right?
Yep.
We need to continue moving forward with these.
And this is good
with these
information.
assessments
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever, and hopefully it'll all get tied together.
I do want to make clear, though, that we should finish some things first before we
yeah.
start
Oh, come
having
on,
some
let's
things.
not.
I mean, we still have a few months, we still have a few months before the buildings are empty, right?
Well,
September 9th is the. Yeah.
well, I think, so there's not just, so when the building opens, it's not just, okay, that's it, there's a
No.
cutover date.
No, I understand that. That's what I'm saying. We have some time to make a
Yeah.
decision as to what we want to do. It's not like we have to decide tonight, yes, we're going to do use a consultant or not.
Right,
Yeah.
right, correct.
Yeah.
We got a study doing a study.
Yeah. So I don't think we're going to take any action, necessarily
Tonight,
take
no.
any action on this tonight. It's a good discussion to have, because it is,
And I
it's
think,
important.
well,
so-
Michael's gonna look into the funding, which is not a minor issue.
Right.
So,
But thank you, Steve, for bringing that up and adding it to the agenda. So moving on to our agenda, we have the Roadway Traffic Safety Committee, and they're recommending a stop sign at the end of Acton Road near the intersection of Green Street and Hilldale. And they're also requesting no parking signs along Olive Street, Howe Street, and one side of Cross Street near the rear entrance of Hopkinton State Park. So I'll turn it over to Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. You may have a map in your packet with respect to the Howe and Cross Street location. I'm referring to this particular map here. You guys all have that. There is a concern. We have a three-way stop at the intersection of Howe and Cross Street, and we've had some near misses from the residents that obeyed the three traffic stop signs there. And unfortunately, when people park on the northbound side of Howe Street, closer to Cross, they block the line of sight, which causes vehicles that are coming in from Cross Street and want to turn onto Howe, they have to edge out. And what's causing a problem is that some of these vehicles that are supposed to stop, that don't stop, we've had some near misses. And one from a resident that almost got hit twice broadside. So with that individual called and said, can we put some stop signs or no parking signs along one side of Howe Street? And before the summer season starts, this is one of the concerns that we had. We wanted to make people be prepared that, we don't want people not to access the state park in Hopkinton, which 85% of it's in the town of Ashland, which is great. But I think that some of the residents around this area have some concerns about people parking wherever they feel like parking. But one of the big concerns is, at least, if we can stencil and put no parking on one side of the road, which is the northbound side of House Street, that would eliminate a safety issue with people having to creep out on Cross Street to see the visibility coming down from Hopkinton. That's the big one. The other matter is, I don't know if you folks are aware of, I know Brandy is, she lives in that neck of the woods. There's actually a two-way stop, and it's on Winter Street. I mean, Green Street.
Green Street.
So you have one end of Green Street with a stop sign. You have another end of Green Street, which is closer to Acton Road, that has a stop sign. And then coming down Hilldale Road towards Acton, there are no stop signs. So no one takes they take their leisure going through or even coming down Hilldale. The person that requested this lives there and has almost got hit several times and has lived there quite a number of years. Local resident, lifelong resident, and she was concerned about putting a stop sign on Hilldale. We didn't think putting a stop sign on Hilldale was actually the right thing to do because you're on a hill and you're on a decline, and trying to stop, you're going to go right to an intersection, especially in the wintertime with icy roads. And the line of sight is not that great at all, especially when you're coming off of Green Street onto Hilldale, that sharp turn. So the committee thought as a whole, once we saw the map, that putting the stop sign on Acton Road at the end of Acton by Hilldale was the appropriate measure to take, because that's the best line of sight, and now people can see everything.
Yeah.
So it'll actually turn into a three-way Y stop.
Yeah.
Because Green Street coming from Myrtle already has a stop
That's
sign,
correct. That's correct.
And Green Street coming from the other side already has a
Fountain
stop
Street,
sign.
right, coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, so if we were to put that stop sign there, that would alleviate those individuals thinking that they have the right of way
Yeah.
when they don't.
Yeah, that neighborhood, I mean, it's literally my neck of the woods, and people run those stop signs all the time. Actually, I don't know if it would be something that the Traffic Safety Committee would entertain, but it would almost be better to move, the stop sign that's coming from Fountain on Green.
Yep.
Is not placed really well, and it's really hard to see.
Right.
So, maybe if that got moved 5-6 feet, just, that might help too with the visibility, because you can't see anything coming down.
No, and that's the blind side of coming down
Yeah.
from Hilldale, because you have that little knob coming down on the hillside.
Yeah.
And you're right, and school bus drivers have expressed the same concern, because they actually take that turn to go up Hilldale.
They do.
And I couldn't understand why they would have to take that turn. I would think that the other way of coming down Green and then turning right onto Riverview and then up Hilldale would work. But because of the kids are on one side of the road getting on, they would have to walk in front of the bus, and they didn't think that was a great idea.
Gotcha.
So again, it's one safety issue much more important than the other.
Yep.
And the kids' safety is far more important, so
Yeah.
that's why we thought changing the stop sign and adding it there. But you're right, we could actually push that stop sign down maybe 10 to 15 feet.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be,
Yeah.
super far. It just,
Right.
I think it's just the visibility where it is.
Right.
It's hard to see. And so people roll that stop
It's
sign
a roll
lot.
stop.
Yeah.
That's it
So,
exactly. Yeah.
But thank you. And I know that the parking over by the state park has been just, it's a challenge. We had received a communication from Claudia and Ed Rose on Olive Street for, for the parking, and, these streets are narrow, and God forbid a public safety, crisis happens and we need to get a fire truck through there.
Well, they couldn't, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why the cruisers were up there. Actually, when Ed had taken the photograph, you would have seen the flashing lights of the police car as they were tagging and towing some of those vehicles, because they could not get a rescue vehicle through there, because that's how tight the road became.
This was Olive Street?
This was Olive Street,
Yeah.
the entry of Olive Street, yeah.
Yolanda?
So a couple of questions/comments regarding the state park issues. So I think it's time to reach out to DCR again and find out, are they going to be opening the park on weekends, and what that's going to look like, and timing, because that's been one of the issues, especially at the community center. And in regards to the Hopkinton State Park, Can we put a sign there that says, go around to the main entrance? If the back entrance from the Hopkinton State Park isn't open, shouldn't we have something that's signage that says to people, go to the main entrance? I mean, granted, they may then have to pay to park, but you can get a annual pass for, I forget how much, and
I
if
don't
you're
think-
over a certain age, then
I don't think you can enter Hopkinton State Park from the rear.
from the house street, well,
You-
that's what I was
so
concerned.
you park, what happens is people that, they may or may not know, what the
Where-
appropriate place to
right.
go is, but, so they park on Howe, they park on, whatever that other road is.
Right.
And, they walk over,
Right.
and that's how they do it. Now, the challenge, though, is when they close the park.
Right, I
So they
understand
can't
that.
even, so on Memorial Day weekends,
Yeah,
Hopkinton, Ashland, and Constituent were all closed, filled to capacity.
right.
So consequently, we get this, we're dealing with the overflow. So, the town becomes the parking manager for the state park.
And that's
Now,
why I think it's time
The
to,
one question I have, though, is all the parking in the Ashland State Park fully utilized? I don't know. There's 3 substantial parking
Lots, yep.
areas. One has traditionally been kind of a staging area for sand, for different materials that they
Yep.
use. So, are they in fact, and I mean, it goes directly
that
to
goes
your
my point. We
point
need
about
to engage DCR and
management.
find out what's
right?
going on at these parks, because unless they want to start paying us for the overtime or the
Yeah,
issues,
but it's bigger than just parking.
I understand.
Because they don't have lifeguards, they don't have, so
Right.
what happens is that the town, and Michael, you can speak to this, the town becomes the de facto management for
Right.
the state park. And it puts a burden on public safety, it puts a burden on our neighborhoods. And, this is, I had it on my board reports, I'm gonna bring it up now, because this is a consistent theme with, these entities, whether it's DCR. Look at the report that just came out about the MBTA. I mean, these systems are failing. They're starting to fail because they're not an appropriate amount of resources are being applied, despite the fact that we've got, record tax revenues coming in. And I understand there's needs everywhere, but,
Right, yeah.
this is, consequently, it becomes, the burden of the towns, and, no.
I have to say that I think the discussion that, the idea that Anna brought forward of trying to work with the MWRTA and the MBTA in regards to their parking lot, that's a 700-car parking lot that is empty on the weekends.
Right, yeah.
And if we can, start that discussion between the MBTA and the RTA, that maybe there's a way that they
Yeah.
would be willing to add some shuttles or something to get people from the parking lot to the state park and not have them parking.
Yeah, I'd be happy to try to follow up with the T on that.
Yeah, Rob, with respect to that, the discussion that we had and the meeting that we had about a month ago, I thought it was a very good meeting
Oh, the one at the
the
station?
site.
Yeah.
And, I think it was a lot of, hot air, because if you drive by there, take a look at the conditions. I mean,
Yeah.
you have, the grass is 3 feet
Nothing
high.
happens
Yeah.
quickly.
It looks
Nothing.
like hell.
Yeah,
When are they gonna take that
Nothing.
responsibility and mow the damn lawn?
yeah.
I mean, granted, okay, does it take 10, 15 minutes to mow that specific area? You're telling me with all the manpower that they have, that they can't, they have somebody on site all the time, the guys come in there all the time. They can't mow the lawn?
Yeah,
They don't
I don't want to get too
No,
too
but
far
I'm
off
just
topic,
saying,
but no, I
this
hear
is-
you. I
This
hear
is
you.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
If they don't care about parking, they certainly don't care about what their facilities look like.
Right.
No, sure.
So, but I don't know.
I would
Michael,
just
do you want to talk to? I know you had reached out to DCR about some other issues, because to
I would
Steve's
add-
point.
just- I
Hold
would
on,
add
one.
Framingham State.
Can you just let me
Sorry.
speak, please?
Well,
Let me-
I'm just trying to add to what you're saying.
Yeah,
Let her
And then I
finish,
will
Rob.
shut
wait
up.
till
Sorry.
I finish speaking, please. I think that we had some other issues. We had our last dangerous dog hearing, and we were talking about the leash issues at the state park, which I think is important for us to advocate for. And I know, Michael, you had reached out to DCR on that, and some other, knowing that this parking issue was going to be a challenge for the summer. have you had any contact with them? Have they, gotten back to you? Do we need to reach out to like Karen Spilka's office?
It might be time to reach out to our legislative delegation on this stuff.
Were you able to talk to somebody from Hopkinton? Because Jeff is pretty good that way.
I know he is
he under
really
the
good.
gun?
I think they're swamped.
I'm sure they are.
I think they're swamped.
I'm sure they are. Because he'll do anything for us if he has the ability to do it.
Yeah, he's usually very, very responsive.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of these are potentially good solutions. I think in general, well, I think like Steve says, and it's already kind of happening, we're becoming the management agency for DCR in terms of their local parks, and we just don't have the ability to do that. We're not necessarily equipped for that.
Yeah.
But it's a tough one because you definitely want to provide access for people, but there's a difference between providing access and capacity. Those are two very, very different things. And you could certainly provide equal access for everybody, but not have enough capacity to handle everybody who would want to take advantage of something. So,
I would hate like hell to see an incident where someone's life is lost because of capacity issues and nobody being there. But that's on the state, that's on their liability aspect of it, but, where it's in the town of Ashland, they'll go after everybody and anybody.
Well, that's,
So-
if you get a call in, it's not like
Right.
the fire department or the police department's gonna say no.
Right.
No, we can't go, they're gonna go flying up there like they would.
Right? Didn't our fire department just go in and rescue somebody either from the water or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rob, go ahead and make your point.
Oh, okay. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was actually just wanted to make a minor comment supporting what you're saying. But I won't do that again. The only thing I wanted to say, in terms of this discussion with all these groups, is include Framingham State in that. They're an integral part of that, of the management of the Ashland State Park. And if we want to approach this as an interagency kind of thing, that they're an important part of it. So.
Okay.
How would you say they're an important part? Because DCR gives them they grant them the usage of the beachfront, because
Sure.
DCR owns 25 feet from the water's edge back, and they give, at the time they gave Northeastern the okay, now it's Framingham State University. So how does the Framingham get involved in that aspect of it? I'm a little, I don't get that connection.
Because they control a lot of the land, and they have their own policies as to parking and land management.
There won't be any parking up there now.
Well, so, I guess that's part of what I'm pointing out. So what they do affects us as well.
Okay, getcha.
And they are responsible for managing a lot of it, and especially the dog problem, for example. That's the land under their control, right?
Well, I
Well,
think you're seeing
Parts
less and
of it.
less people
Yeah.
go there
Yeah.
because they now have to park at Warren
Yeah.
Woods and cross the street.
And that's affecting us, right?
Yep.
So,
Okay, so just getting back to the agenda item and potentially approving the signs. So I think there's two approvals we need to do. One for the stop sign at the end of Acton Road, and then the signs along Olive Street, House Street, and Cross Street as well. So I would say that's
I move that we approve the recommendations by the Traffic Study Committee for the stop sign on Acton Road and for the no parking in the areas as described in the discussion around Hopkinton State Park.
I think, can we be a little more specific? Joe said certain specific things, and I guess I'm not clear what the current motion is. Joe talked about the stop sign at Green and Howe, and then he talked about,
Right, so the stop sign.
Olive
Okay, we'll
Street.
do them separately. I move that we approve the stop sign at the end of Acton Road at the intersection of Green Street and Hilldale.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes 5-0. We want a second motion?
Yep. I move that we approve the no parking post as described by Joe on Howe Street, Cross Street,
And Olive.
and Olive Street.
And the Olive Street one would be the entryway area,
Uh,
because that's the more narrow area that we're concerned
As
about.
described by
As
Joe.
described, thank you.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And
you,
Joe,
guys.
for the Traffic Safety Committee, will you guys circle back with, like Ed and Claudia
I will,
Rose
yes,
and make sure
yeah,
that they
absolutely.
close
Yeah.
that loop and
Yeah.
any others that
And
have
the
come
other
to you?
folks
Yeah.
up off of Pinecrest and Holly Lane, I'll definitely call them and contact them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
I've given them a heads up already that we're gonna discuss this tonight, so
Okay.
they're probably watching.
Okay. All right. Well,
Thank
thank you and to the Traffic Safety Committee for bringing this to
Yeah,
us
we
tonight.
appreciate, we have no problem doing it, we appreciate doing it, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the discussion of the reappointment process. So we are in June, and I know we've had a couple discussions about potentially changing our reappointment process. I think the initial reason that we wanted to potentially change this was we as a board felt that in August every year we generally have quote-unquote rubber stamped reappointments without really doing any confirmation or due diligence or engaging of the committee members, with the exception of Susan reaching out to folks to see whether or not they wanted to be reappointed. We also have talked about engaging more residents and being able to open up potentially some of these committee slots to new folks that might want to serve. I know we've talked also extensively about term limits and making some policy changes and some bigger things. We don't have to change everything all at once. My suggestion tonight is to discuss what we would need to do to make changes for this August cycle, because Susan has already received some talent bank forms, and there's some confusion out there as to what the reappointment process looks like. And as we are already in June, and we'll be looking at this in 2 months, my suggestion is that we come to some consensus of whether or not we do want to make changes, and then what that process looks like, whether or not we want to have folks do talent bank forms or not, or post all of the openings up to our website and open it up for new members to potentially put in a talent bank form. So, like I said, I would say like that if we can limit the kind of that for tonight, I think that's probably the most effective use of our time.
Well, Madam Chair, if you don't mind, looking at the list that we have in front of us, we're all up 8/31/2022. So if we need to really move on this, because we have a couple of months to go,
Right, yes.
so.
So I'd open it up to the board to see if, how we want to proceed. Yolanda?
So one of the things I think I would like to recommend is that instead of Susan, reaching out to everybody if they want to be reappointed, I'd like us to at least put in the step of, if you would like to be reappointed, and we can put on the website when people are up, that they submit a talent bank form if they want to be reinstated, if they want to, be reappointed. And at the same time, we can let people know that there's seats open, right? Yes, there are, I'm looking at Historical Commission. My understanding is that one of the members that's on there is not going to run again. So she probably won't submit a talent bank form to be reappointed. So we need to let people know that that's available. But because we want to sort of broaden and maybe include new people, I think I would like to recommend that we ask people who are up for reappointment to submit a talent bank form to be reappointed.
Okay.
And if you don't get one, so be it.
Steve?
So, the way I look at this list is that, in essence, all of these are open positions. And so one of the things I would like to see, and I know we have access to talent bank forms, but what I'd like to see on this spreadsheet is are, names of folks that are interested in being part of a particular committee, so that then we can make that assessment as to, some of the criteria that's listed on the prior page about the longevity and expertise and background knowledge and so on. And, but to me, all of these are open seats, and let me pick out something. And I don't think historical is necessarily a good example, because I believe one or both of the folks listed are not interested in being reappointed.
Right.
But somebody like, let's use William Child as an example. I mean, he's got, are there other people that are interested in participating on open space and recreation? And we can't, to me, part of the deliberation is going to be, his longevity, his experience, and versus somebody that's looking to participate and start gaining that knowledge and that expertise. So,
would we get that list once we've asked people to submit talent bank forms?
well, I'm not sure, from this list here, now, this was updated back in February,
Right.
so I'm not quite sure if everybody on this list is looking to be reappointed. We don't, unless Susan can confirm that, we don't know that at this point in time. So I guess the first thing, whether they do a talent bank form or they, just provide an email, which typically they've done, identifying that they want to be reappointed, we would need to then start making that, those assessments. I think, again, I think it's going to be difficult for us, not to support people that have years of experience and expertise and let's say a passion for the work that they do. It's going to be difficult. And, so but I think we need to put our money where our mouth is if we want to, if we truly want to have people participating and enlarge that participation.
Go ahead, Ben.
Well, going back to Yolanda's, I think I'm not sure what we gain from forcing people up for renewal to do another talent bank form. I don't think that's, like, if you look at someone like William Child and all the work he's doing, do we really want him to fill out a form, as opposed to just answering Susan that he's interested in being reappointed? So I think, in my opinion, that's really an unnecessary thing to ask dedicated board members to do, which isn't to say that we don't consciously look at people, and if they have issues, we should address it during their renewal period. But I think it would be more of an exception rather than making everybody do that. And it has to do, I think, with the care and feeding of our committee members who are trying to encourage and keep going. And again, I don't agree with advertising all these positions and having people go into competition. One, because again, I think if people are doing dedicated service, we shouldn't be putting them through that. And second, we don't really need to do it because we have a lot of openings, and we should be concentrating on doing those openings and focusing on someone. I don't know if it was Yolanda or Steve about a suggestion about the chairs, telling us about people whose attendance is not good or that aren't good committee members for whatever criteria. Maybe we could develop that criteria. But I think having everybody go through this, I think is, we just don't have that kind of need. And, so I think we should be trying to nurture these people and encouraging them, trying to keep them involved and focusing on the openings, which we've done with some success. So I just want to keep this process simple. Like, for example, if someone doesn't fill out the talent bank form, forgets to do it, or, then we're then going to not reappoint them, as opposed to them just telling Susan, yeah, I'll do it again. It's just a lot, I think. Anyway.
Go ahead,
So,
Yolanda.
so two comments to that, Rob. One is, I'd be willing to look at our current talent bank form, and if we want to change it into a renewal for people so that they don't have to give us all their history, because we know their history, I'd be willing to do that. And your comment of, well, you know, how many times has Susan had to go back to some of these people to say, do you want to be reappointed? Do you want to be reappointed? So, you know, you want to keep it simple, and I agree, I want to keep it
Okay.
simple too, but for Susan, I mean, I don't know for sure, and Susan, you can confirm this, I'm sure there are people that she has reached out to that says, your seat is up for renewal, do you want to renew? And possibly having to go back once or twice to see if people want to be renewed. Is that true, Susan?
So I do that. Most people are pretty good about it because they're on a regular basis. They kind of know that they're expiring. One of the challenges we're running into, we usually have already started this process. We're getting into people going away.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to impact either people replying back to me or people completing a talent bank form, because some people are going to go away for the summer. Some of those
But-
committees don't meet over the summer.
So from a committee perspective, I could understand that that might be difficult. I would think from a personal email perspective, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly look at my personal email while I'm on vacation. And our talent bank form is online, and if we can revise, and I'm willing to revise one for a renewal form versus the full form, I mean, it's the middle of June, we have basically, you know, until the end of August. I mean, have you done any reaching out yet, Susan?
I've done nothing because I don't have a process.
Right, so.
So it sounds like there's a couple thoughts, one of which is to not change anything, which is kind of what Rob's talking about. There's the possibility of advertising all of our openings and having people either fill out a new talent bank form if they were interested, or, you know, potentially a renewal one, which I think is a good idea. Because I think that might strike a balance of trying to get new people involved, and also, you know, not creating a real heavy lift for those folks who do want to continue to serve.
I would just, you know, as far as this year goes, I think because we're tight for time, you know, I don't know if we should get into any major readjustments at this point.
Okay.
That's my first point. But secondly, you know, I think what we do need, when Susan can put it together, is an updated sheet, because as an example, there's a opening on Sustainability Committee that we approved tonight under consent, and then also on the Council on Aging, there's an opening that we approved through the consent as well. So, you know, to get the up for renewals as well as the openings, and then if there's a separate row or column actually that identifies talent bank forms that have been submitted that are in our file with a particular name for that particular committee, you know, I think we can then kind of, to go to Rob's point, kind of match people with openings potentially.
Okay. Joe, do you have any thoughts of how we should?
I would have to tend to agree with Steve. I mean, we're coming down and near the end, and
Okay.
Susan makes a very, very valid point that people are going away on
Yeah.
vacation. And, you know, that's probably not on their wish list of things that need to get done right away type of deal. So I would say that now that we know that, we want to do the things that we need to do, leave it as it is, and then, you know, the beginning of the year, come up with a new.
September 1st.
Well, September 1st, well,
It's going to take us
Yeah.
a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're partway there.
Yeah.
You know, we're partway there in regards to making the changes. And I guess I'm a little, you know, I don't know. I think if we just leave everything the same, that's what we've been doing for the last 7 years, is leaving everything the same. And we've been trying to have this discussion, and we don't make a decision, and we don't do anything. You know, whatever the majority of the board wants, I'm fine with that. But the idea that Susan, you know, sends out the emails, and then she has to collate that back, I think.
It's a
You
lot of
know.
work, and
Right, and that needs to
I would love to
change.
make it easier for Susan, but at the same token, Susan brought up a great fact, and point is that people may be heading out, you know, right the day after school gets out. You know, they may be going away wherever they're going. And that may not be a priority on their list of things to do. Though it should be, it isn't.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that we're not going to make any changes, so. But to be revisiting it again in the not-so-distant
And I
future.
think the big challenge here really is to, ultimately, how do we increase participation? That's
Yeah.
really for me, the big thing.
And
My
It's
personal-
not-
my
it's not a
personal-
And we may
form.
have to
Yeah.
not reappoint some people.
Yeah.
Well, it may
you know?
come to that at some point, but, you know, that has nothing to do necessarily with a form, a renewal form. So it's, to table that for a short period of time, I don't think is a,
Okay.
I know
Joe?
Yolanda's a little frustrated with not getting anything done, and I don't disagree with what you just said. But where we have a little bit of time, maybe to design that renewal form instead of, you know.
You turn it into, from a two-pager to a one-page.
That's fine,
You know,
but
it's
I'm
that
just-
simple.
uh,
Anyway,
For
sorry.
some people, it may be
I-
simple. For me, it isn't. But if it's simple for you, then I'll be more than happy to see your design and come up with it. And then we can approve it maybe at the next meeting. And if we're lucky enough to shoot it out, we get it shot out before people go away, but.
Okay. Well, I think from Susan's perspective, she needs to know sooner rather than later, and, you know, so I think what I'm hearing is that we'll continue as we've done in the past, Susan, and then, you know, I would personally like to make some changes to the process, because I think we do need to get some new people involved, especially in, you know, some areas we get talent bank forms not infrequently that Susan sends to us and says, I'm sorry, there's no openings in that committee. And so it would be nice to get new folks involved. You know, I think that's something we should definitely.
I just want to say that if we don't want to do the new process, that's fine, but I would like to see for each of these committees, if we have other people who have submitted talent bank forms for these committees, that we see that and we have that discussion. That we don't just say, okay, these two people who have been sitting there for a long time have resubmitted. If we have other talent bank forms, we need to make that, we need to have that discussion
Okay.
at our meeting in July or August.
Okay,
That's
Susan
what I'd
has
like
her
to
hand up.
recommend.
Go ahead, Susan.
so
Can I just
you're
make
agreeing
one
with me.
Can I just make one suggestion? We do on occasion get people that submit in talent bank forms, but normally they submit for openings that we have. If you're going to put out this whole list, maybe we put the whole list up and have people apply, so that even if they have an interest, you can then decide whether or not you want to add additional people. You've done that to some of the committees, so that people have a backup, and maybe it's another way of getting other people involved by increasing the committee size.
Great idea.
I think that's a great
Just a
idea,
thought.
Susan. Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think Susan, you may have solved our log jam. So, does that sound like it's reasonable for everyone?
The one thing I do want to be careful of is, because I know at one point many years ago, we increased the open space and enrollment from 7 to 9, and then they came back and asked us to bring it back down to 7 because they couldn't meet quorum. So as we add members, we just need to keep that in the back of our minds.
Right. Well, we wouldn't add any members to a committee without making sure the committee wanted to add additional folks past what, you know, they already have, I would say. Does that sound reasonable for everybody?
Yep.
Okay. So Susan, you'll reach out to folks about the reappointment process and put all of these openings online so people can see what committees have people that are potentially open or for reappointment?
I will do that, and I'll delete the email I was sending telling you that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So we already approved our consent agenda, so we're moving on to priority projects. Michael, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Do you want me to give really full, robust updates, or do you want me to move this along? Okay. All right. I kind of thought so. So downtown, we're still waiting on the granite to come in. That should come in next week. They'll start installing the granite on Front Street first, and then they should also be starting to pour the sidewalks immediately right behind it. So we should start seeing some progress there. You have seen Eversource trucks in town. What they're doing is they're running the cabling down, so they've been parked at different locations and starting to feed that cable.
Excuse me a second, so at the corner of 135 and Main Street, you know, heading up, let's say to, up Prospect Street, is that related to downtown, all of that particular work?
No, it's not.
Okay, what is?
I need to get a more thorough update about what's going on with that one.
Okay.
As
All right.
well as Chestnut Street as well.
Okay.
So, but no, that's not related
That's
to downtown.
not related to downtown, okay.
Right. And so, what they've also been working at the intersection of Concord Street and Front Street because they're working on the Trolley Brook culvert where it makes that significant bend. And they also have some work to do regarding drainage on Pine Hill Road. So.
Can I add something real quick to that, Michael?
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to the folks yesterday on that. Those are all those employees in training. They were all in training. They were all new employees in training, and that's where they started them off working there.
Interesting. Okay.
Just wanted to let you know.
I appreciate that. The public safety building, so as Steve mentioned, that substantial or completion date has been moved to September. We are expecting this time next month to have a completion date or completion percentage of 95%.
95,
this time.
yep.
I think really what we would be waiting on would be the lobby materials. That would be a main component in moving forward. So the committee met yesterday. We talked about a number of different things. We talked about the prospect of solar on the roof and moving forward with that, and then also had the beginning conversations of what an opening ceremony would look like and more of the ceremonial aspects of this. I think inspired by the beam raising ceremony.
Yes, definitely.
Did any of you who was on the committee wanted to add anything, or did I cover it?
Oh, that's good.
Okay.
Saving time.
Mendez School, we had a meeting yesterday, so Yolanda and I were fortunate to go on a site walk. It was pretty impressive. Practically all the steel is up. There's one section where they still need to do the
looks great.
second floor.
Could you see your name up on the beam?
No, I didn't look for it, but
Mine was at the top.
yeah.
The sun was in our eyes. But
They've put a little tree. You know, they talked about the importance of the tree.
It was on the beam when they put it up there.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, the story behind the tree, the reason why they put a tree was very interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So it was. So it was a very interesting site walk, and then yesterday we just had a couple of change orders that we needed to approve. And anything else, Yolanda, you think I missed?
No, I don't think so. They have a very tight timeline, so they were a little bit behind earlier in May, and they've been able to make up some of that time, and they're hoping to be able to make up a little bit more.
Okay, Valentine project. So just a reminder that we're going to have our forum on the 29th regarding the Valentine property and talk about how to move forward with that. The IFB for the roof work and the foundation work has been put out there. We had probably 4 people so far, 4 real parties so far that have pulled the bid. So hopefully there are some local contractors who are interested in the job. That would be great if they put in the bid and they're awarded that accordingly. The soil. Oh, yeah, this IFB for the RFP, I should say, for the soil remediation went up today too. And Warren District, we're looking at the possibility of over the summer putting the barn back out to bid again, utilizing the plans that we have. And it's not on this, but I do want to ask, so 126 on Pond Street, the board had granted Northern Construction the ability to pave at night. They haven't really been able to pave at night because they can't get the workers to work at night. So one of the things that they have asked is if they could have permission to work on Monday, which is technically a holiday.
I move that we allow them to work on Monday.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
5-0.
So that's priority projects.
Okay.
Okay, we move fast. Town manager reports. private developments in town?
Yeah, the board had asked for an update on private property developments going on in town. There are currently 4 cases that are in front of the planning board. 100 Chestnut Street, 501 Pond, which were probably the 2 that we're most familiar with. 100 Chestnut is the 176-unit development that is being proposed at the Village of Americas. And 501 Pond is 120 units that is being proposed at Pond Street next to residents at Valley Farms. Both of those, they're still in the permitting phase. It sounds like they're going through the stage where they are getting peer reviews on the latest designs. Also in front of the board is 225 Pond Street, which is McDonald's, for a special permit related to the drive-through, and then 320 Pond Street, which is actually Mozzie, related to a new outdoor dining location. So anybody who's interested in current cases before the board, if you go to the planning department's webpage, they actually have a section there that says current cases before the board. You can go to that webpage. You'll see links to each of these projects and the documentation associated with those, so plans and things like that. And they also have previous projects as well, so it's a pretty comprehensive list. In addition to the ones that and before the planning board, we also have 10 to 50 Main Street, which is not before the planning board right now, but I suspect that an application is forthcoming fairly soon. We did have a second forum with Rich Gordon and his team. It was plagued by technical problems. I've not had good Zoom luck lately. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the video, the recording of that, and see if we can piece that together and put that up. Overall, I thought the forum was, again, I felt like people were pretty respectful in their comments, and I thought Rami, who we had brought on to help facilitate the discussion, he played a much more active role, and I thought it was very, very beneficial for the forum. And no, I thought, you know, as Tricia had mentioned towards the end, this is what we're hopefully ushering in is a new way to get public input on some of these projects, or an expanded way of getting public input. So it's the first time that we've done this. Hopefully it won't be the last. We'll see.
Can I just follow up, Mike? Because I was there for a little while, but then left.
Did you get kicked out, or did it drop off?
Well, I got kicked out and didn't bother to go back in. So.
Okay.
But, so, I don't know, and most of the other people, when you say it was a good do you think certain things were accomplished in terms of the design or the scale, or what were people's impressions about it?
I think we'll see. The proof's going to be in the pudding, right? When the application gets submitted, we will see how much of the public's feedback was incorporated into that design. I think people talked about very consistently. They talked about scale. They talked about the historical components of the complex, if you will, and maintaining that. But a lot of it was based on scale and design, really. And so we'll see.
That's the way it's been from the beginning.
Happens. I mean, I've been pretty vocal. I have been disappointed. I feel like the developer took a step back from the last set of drawings that we saw as part of the 10 to 50 working group. I think what they have put forward now in order to try to meet the 3-story height requirement, personally, this is just my personal opinion, is a step back. But
yeah, that's unfortunate, because I feel like some of our last sessions for the working group, we had a building that I think fit better. I have not been able to attend either of the forums, unfortunately, but I'm hoping that they'll come back around.
Yeah, I think that the 10 to 50 Main Street working group has been really great, because, you know, when I think about like where this was when Mr. Gordon came in front of us a year and a half ago or whatever it was at this point, versus where it is now, like, you know, I think the working group has really advocated for a lot of the stuff that we talked about, which is the historical preservation and more commercial and, you know, less units, and also the scale.
And uniqueness to Ashland, and not just to look like, I mean, it's unbelievable. You drive from Natick to Framingham to somewhere on the South Shore, and all the buildings that you're seeing going up are all looking the same. You know, in about 20 years, it's going to be like, yep, that was built in the 2020s, that was, you know, and that's not what we want for
Yeah.
downtown.
And I think that the working group also, like, without the working group, there would have never been 2 public forums that happened before.
I would agree.
Before he went to the
Before he
planning,
goes to the planning
Yeah.
board. And the good thing is the public still has a, you know, although the public forums have been completed, they have an opportunity to weigh in and help shape the project as it goes through the public
Planning
hearing
process,
process through
yeah.
the planning board, because that is typically the process
Well,
that
it-
projects follow.
I think unfortunately, you know, I did attend both of them. I thought the second one was better because I thought Mr. Gordon was better prepared to answer questions beyond just the design questions. So he had his environmental engineer there. He had Craig Seymour, who's his finance guy, did a better presentation. So that was good. Unfortunately, you know, when I sat there and looking at all the heads and all the names, and I subtracted his team, and I subtracted the staff.
The elected.
And I subtracted the, you know, anybody that already serves on a board or committee.
Right.
I counted like 12 or 13 people,
Right.
residents, that weren't affiliated with one of those groups.
Right.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you know, we're still not getting that kind of critical mass input.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But 12 isn't bad, though.
Relatively.
Yeah.
Relatively, yeah.
We have a low bar,
Yeah.
low
Yeah.
bar,
It's a lot better than none.
yeah. So, do you want to, is there anybody else have anything else on
No.
10:15? Okay.
That
Go
is it on A.
Okay.
Moving on to the Mendez beam raising ceremony, we covered a little bit about it under Mendez, but it was great to have you all there, Rob. We missed you. It was certainly, I think, an inspiring event. It helped us all, I think, see the light at the end of the tunnel, not just maybe for the Mendez project, but for, you know, all of these other projects that we have going on that we've lamented that we're in the middle of, and feeling like we're kind of stuck in the mud with a lot of those. Had great remarks from the superintendent, and then Karen Spilka, as well as the MSBA, Jim from the MSBA, and our manager from Shawmut Construction. I thought they did an excellent job and provided good remarks. But I think who stole the show really were the kids.
Yep. That was fun.
And just to, I mean, they're authentically excited about it, and you could just kind of feel that, and that was really neat.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've shared this story with people, but there's a family that lives across the street from me, and their oldest daughter is in 3rd grade. And at one point she said, "So are you part of that project?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Ah," and she had specific questions because they can see it out their window. So to see that excitement and knowing that these 3rd graders are going to be the first
Yeah.
5th grade class that gets to be in there, it's just very cool.
Yeah, it is
Very
cool.
cool.
I just wanted to comment, you know, Claudia Bennett is, you know, just a big part of that whole process, and, you know, on the verge of retirement, and, you know, getting to see, you know, the fruition of a lot of years of hard work. And
Yep.
so best wishes to Claudia.
Yep, absolutely.
She's here till the, well,
End of
July.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's her official last
Yeah,
day.
so, yeah, no, it was a full circle moment for her. You
Yeah.
know, it was,
Yeah,
it
it
was,
was,
it was
yeah.
nice to see,
Yeah, it
because
was good.
she's given so much to our community and the school and those kids, and, you know, I mean, I wish her a great retirement, but, you know, hope she comes back for the ribbon cutting.
Well,
Yeah.
she's staying on the Mendez Building Committee, I mean, so that the new principal doesn't have to take that on as well.
Oh, okay.
The new principal will, you know, liaise as well, but Claudia will be the member continuing until the building's
Oh,
on.
that's smart.
That is
Yeah.
great.
That's
Yeah,
a smart
that's really
thing to
good.
do.
So, sounds good. Okay, moving on.
Really don't have much of a COVID update. Do you have anything, JB? Then we get update on the responses to significant correspondence, and I think over the course of, you know, between meetings, we receive a number of emails, et cetera. We've received a few, again, in this period between our meetings. We've actually talked about one earlier related to the budget, and Ms. Nardone's email regarding, you know, bonuses and longevity payments. I think the board's received a couple more. And
Yeah,
Brandy, I know you've answered.
Yeah, there was a
answered those.
couple emails that we received on 10 to 50 Main Street, which I've responded to. You know, I think it's important. I know people have strong opinions and feelings about the project, and I do think it's important to make sure we provide some facts and context in kind of in responding. So, so that's been sort of my goal there. We also received an email from Chris Gazzard about, I don't think the whole board got it. I think just Rob and I got it. And about McGunko Road, and you
Yeah,
had
and some
kind of done
material being in truck traffic off of McGunko Road. A lot of that's related to 50 McGunko. They are storing materials on site, which they shouldn't be, and so they're trucking a lot of that stuff off. And so that's why you're seeing an increase in truck traffic. They actually, Conservation Commission ratified an enforcement order for them on Monday night.
Oh, good.
Was, was that the location you and I drove up on?
Yes.
I'm sure it was.
So this is good that you've added this to the agenda. It's a good way. But my question, I guess, is how do you distinguish between significant and insignificant?
Well, we'll play it by ear. How's that?
Because we've also gotten some other correspondence, and I'd like us to, at some point, add those to the agenda to sort of discuss them.
Is there specific?
Open meeting law stuff that, you know,
we
we've
did
gotten
receive
some
an
decisions on, and it would
yeah.
be good to sort of
discuss
them.
Yeah, we'll put that on our next agenda.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that.
Yeah. And that's actually a question for Lisa, too, to give us a concept of how much money we're spending on adjudicating these open meeting law scenarios.
Oh, good. Yeah, actually, so just, we were talking to Lisa, and when we had our, we're talking about our evaluation, and one of the questions that we have in our evaluation form was talking about costs. And I said, for me personally, it's really difficult to kind of measure that, because I would like to see like year over year what we spend, because I think that that's kind of a good measure as to how they are allocating and how we are allocating, as far as, you know, to Steve's point about things like open meeting law violations and how much of our town budget goes towards that. I think it's important to know. So.
Well, we can help keep some of that down by, well, first of all, making sure we don't violate open meeting law.
Yeah.
Right.
And always try to improve
I
on
don't think
that.
anybody's trying to do it purposely in any way, shape, or
No. And then
Probably
to
shouldn't
that
discuss
point.
this much further, because
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. Yeah.
But then I think at some
put it on a future agenda.
you know, at some point, at some points we just have to own our mistakes and just,
Right.
you know,
Just fess up and, say, okay, point taken,
what's
and
the
we'll
next?
do better next time.
Yeah. So, but we will make sure we address those open meeting law issues
Thank
you.
on our next agenda. Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, that sounds good. Moving into board reports, and it's 9:45, so maybe,
You know
just
something?
maybe.
You just timed this perfectly, really.
All right, we'll start with Joe and we'll work our way down the line. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. June 7th, I had the pleasure of attending an opening of the Massachusetts Metrology Laboratories located at 250 Elliott Street. Now, there's a question here. What is metrology? What is metrology? It's weights and measures.
Ah,
So their new office space and their new training facilities at 250 Elliott Street in Ashland.
Nice.
It's all it's state of the art. It's absolutely beautiful. Jim Cassidy and Ray Costa were both there, and I had the pleasure of meeting and welcoming the Undersecretary Ed Paleski, who is the head of the Weights and Measures Department for the state of Massachusetts. Welcomed them to Ashland, and they're very happy to be here, and they look to be here for quite a number of years. And Sunday, I attended along with others, we attended the fire department's memorial service, which was very nice and very humbling. And on Tuesday, we had a public safety building meeting. Mike brought up 90% of what I was going to say, so I can move on to that. I'm happy to report that the summer concert program is now ready, and it's being published as we speak. We had a band cancel today on us. Their lead singer and guitarist got in a motorcycle accident and is in a hospital with 2 broken legs and cervical spine injury. So yeah, so he won't be playing for a while, which is too bad. And The Snack Shack will be opening at the end of the month for the summer. We ask you all to join. It'll be 11 to 2 o'clock. And I know Michael will be down for a dog or two, which he usually does.
Absolutely.
So we welcome everybody. And then congratulations to those who had a wonderful baseball and softball regular season. This season is over, but now they're in tournament play and other things. But it was wonderful to watch all the young kids play and have fun. And it's nice to see that dads and moms and even coaches realize these are kids, and they're not going to make millions of dollars. So it was just nice. And the school is getting out soon, so please use extra care and caution the next couple of weeks for the kids that are walking downtown. And that's something that I'll bring up in another board report that we may need to sit down and discuss at length, because there are several businesses in town that are very upset and concerned, and they've actually shut their doors when there's half days because of the activities that are going on. So we need to address that. But we're a community, so I'd like the other portion of that part of that community to be part of that discussion as well.
Good point.
Schools and public safety.
Absolutely. And that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Yolanda?
Just a couple things. We had our Metro West Regional Collaborative Legislative Breakfast last Friday. We held it in Natick. A couple of interesting comments from our Senator and Senate President Karen Spilka, as well as Senator Eldridge, and then we had State Rep Gentile and Lewis. One of the things, and I mentioned this to Michael the other day, is apparently there is legislation that is being looked at that will make it even more difficult to get out of Article 97 land. So if it's something we're considering for Valentine, I think we gotta move on that. Yeah. The next thing is this coming next week, Thursday, on the 23rd, we are having our Metro West Regional Collaborative meeting over Zoom. Hopefully you are all on the MAP, you are on the mailing list from MAPC, so you're being aware of that. They also have an event coming up where they're presenting Metro Common via 2050 virtually. I'm also going to reach out to Peter Matchick because we do need a new planning board member to represent Ashland at the Metro West Regional Collaborative. And then I have, because of schedule and conflicts, I have stepped off of the MAPC Executive Committee. I still would like to stay as our representative to MAPC for the general meetings because I'm also still on the Finance Committee. They've asked me to stay on that. Then two other things. ABA event tomorrow night at the Corner Spot. It's free, but there'll be some food and beer, and I saw that Zealous is going to be there this weekend. And then the last thing, as we're writing up that hearing for our next meeting, we need to be aware that as of right now, as of July 15th, we can no longer do remote meetings. It is currently tied to the state budget, one of the amendments, so they have to pass that. I don't know if it's been passed yet, so just be aware of that. We may have to do like two notices. I'm not sure, and that's one of the concerns that many people are having is, come on, state, figure this out so we know what we need to do for our meetings between now and July 15th.
Good point.
And that's it.
Thank you, Yolanda, and that is a good thing to note.
Okay, my turn.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, just a couple things. Joe mentioned the Firemen's Memorial Day on Sunday. We both attended, but it was really a well-done event. And but I was able to check off an item on my bucket list. I've never been in a fire truck. I've been inside a stationary, but not a moving one. So I got a ride from the station to the cemetery.
Wow!
And so I checked that off the bucket list.
Now
so
you know how the
that
first
was good.
graders feel when they get
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
this
that was
good.
pent up after God.
That's
a lot
awesome.
of years ago.
That's awesome.
Second item, the senior lunch program, for any of the seniors still up at this late hour. The senior lunch program held on Mondays at the community center is going to be running all through the summer. So we do it both, we have a hybrid lunch. You can either come and sit in, you can commune with Rob's mother-in-law, or you can do a grab and go as well. So either way, but that's going to be running all through the summer. The let's see. The last thing actually is the farmer's market. I mean, we really had a great turnout for opening day. Just a testimony to the community in their support. Testimony to the town for all their support, helping to make this happen. But it was just a great turnout. It was a beautiful day. And this week, both at the farmer's market and at the corner spot, there'll be Juneteenth celebrations, or at least ceremonies. I know the main Juneteenth celebration will be at the corner spot. Ashland is United is running, coordinating that, and so I would encourage folks to participate at the corner spot on Saturday. Is it 12 to 3?
12 to 2, and it's a combination of Ashland is United and area.
An
So
area,
they're-
that's
yep.
right.
I'm
That's
sorry,
right.
what date?
Saturday.
Saturday,
Saturday,
yes.
okay.
An area will also be at the farmer's market on Saturday morning. And there's two great opportunities to commemorate a very important event. So that's my tune.
Okay,
Thanks.
sounds good. Thanks, Steve.
Just one quick item. I just wanted to note that Saturday when tons of things were going on, but the library had their book sale. I thought I'd go in and there's some science fiction book I was looking for. I couldn't get in the door. It was unbelievable.
550 patrons.
Yeah.
Went through.
Really?
Unbelievable. So good for them.
That's
So you
awesome.
think, people are donating books. They're probably, who's going to buy them? But people wanted to buy them, so it was great. So
Yeah.
anyway, I
Well,
wanted to note
and
that.
the new room down there for
Yeah.
the book sale
Did a
is
great
just
job.
amazing.
Yeah, they did a
They've
great
done-
job.
So
They've
good.
done great work there.
Yeah.
So thanks to all them. And,
Okay.
that's
Oh.
it for me. So.
Actually, the library made me think of something.
Yeah.
And were you going to talk about the food for fines?
Nope, go ahead.
So the Ashland Library for the month of June is accepting donated food instead of fines. So if you have a library book that you haven't returned and you haven't wanted to pay the fine, please consider returning it and just bring some food. Their goal is 100 pounds of food by the end of the month. So please consider and bring in some food for your fines, and then they're going to go fine-free as of July 1st. Thank you for letting me add that.
Thank you for remembering that, because I did not remember that, so.
I know, yeah.
So thank you. I just have a few things. One, this last Sunday, I was at an Eagle Scout Court of Honor for Shane McConnell, so congratulations to Shane. He had built this amazing bike rack at Keefe Tech. So if you're ever over by the front of Keefe Tech, he, through a metalworking class, I mean, he's got skills. I mean, like mad skills. He had created the logo for Keefe Tech and put it on the ends, and it was a 13-foot bike rack that he created.
Wow.
So
Can you fix our table?
maybe make a metal one. But so this was a court of honor that was 2 years in the making, because he initially fulfilled all his obligations like before COVID. So this was a well-deserved honor. So congratulations to Shane.
Thank you for representing.
Welcome. And the other thing I just wanted to say is I graduated on Monday from Leadership Metro West. Yay! The Academy. The Leadership Academy, I just wanted to publicly thank Helen Lemoyne, who's the executive director of Leadership Metro West, and all the folks, my 30 colleagues who are now really good friends of mine. So it was an honor to be a part of such a group of great leaders. And it's amazing what ideas and things come about. You know, this program was really to talk about challenges throughout Metro West, to talk about, to work on our leadership skills, but also just as a collaborative process. And it's a 10-month commitment every month. And I've learned a lot, and I feel like hopefully I will bring that back to Ashland and the things that I work on. So hopefully I represented Ashland well, and I'm glad to be a part of that. And the only other thing I wanted to say is, Joe mentioned the end of school, which is next week. I just wanted to wish all the students and parents and staff and administrators a really great summer. I know every person I've talked to within the schools is like counting down the days and ready for it to end. So I wish everyone a really good summer. And I also just want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day on Sunday. So happy Father's Day. So if there is nothing else, we have, all right.
Second.
Wow, that was awesome. All those in favor of adjourning for tonight? Aye. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night. And our next scheduled meeting as a board, like a normal board meeting, is for July 13th. We will be having a joint meeting with the planning board on the 27th, and then the Valentine Forum on the 29th. So we will be busy, but no scheduled meetings as a board till the 13th. So
Go Celtics.
go Celtics. So thank you all. Have a great night. Thank you, Susan, for hanging in there.
Thank you, Sue.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks.
Aye. Look at that, 9:50.